Are we? Yeah, we're live now.
Yeah, we might as well. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
You're right. So this is we don't even know which cast we're doing yet.
No, we don't. I'm just starting because you never know what gold.
Oh God, we're live. What are you doing, Shane?
Yeah, which is also not even in the thing proper. Ryan, which cast are we doing? You decide right
live now. I'm on the
Yes, we
phone.
are. Doesn't matter.
Man, you've mentioned
We'll
that
fix
a
it in
few
post.
times. Are you on a phone, Ryan?
I am.
Are you on the phone though?
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan. I need the next 2 words out of your mouth, or 3 words out of your mouth, need to be something and something. Which cast are we doing? And that's what we're doing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sequels, Controllers, and Keyboards.
Sequels, controllers, and keyboards.
Hey, there's sequels in the gaming industry.
It's true.
Plus, I heard D&D 5th edition. It ain't first, motherfuckers.
He's not wrong. So I guess this is controllers and keyboards. This is a way better
Can't
start.
cast on the phone though. I got to get it on the computer.
That's fine. You'll just drop out and come back in.
But we're live. You can't live now. I was not ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was showing the wine, like literally.
Yep.
I said, see, you said it's a box with 4 liter anyway.
Yep.
It's a 4-liter box.
I think your phone is actually a better camera and microphone than your computer.
Fucking right. I know. That's how old my computer is. That my phone and tablet are both fucking better. My tablet's like 3 years old too. That's the worst part about it. Fucking computer. Okay, when you say potato, you actually mean turnip because ain't nobody eat that shit anymore.
You're right. This is a good thing that we start recording now.
Anyway, okay.
I mean turnip. That's like we're gonna have like 12 different good titles for this cast.
For those who don't know, I'm allowed to celebrate. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
It's his party.
As my auntie Caroline said on Facebook, it's you day. You know, that's the thing. You, because I don't know. Lots of people were born today. Apparently, I don't know. That's what Google tells me.
Well, here's a fun fact, Ryan. There's only like a maximum of 366 days in a year. So since there's like 7 billion of us, some of us are gonna have to share birthdays.
Yeah, it overlaps. Yeah. Is there any day that only one person has a birthday on? Any day?
No, guaranteed, 100%.
Historically, is it statistically impossible, Shane? You're our numbers generator.
It's close enough. Yes, I am actually a living calculator, but it is close enough to being impossible that I can say confidently that there is not a single day on the planet where only one person was born.
Okay.
No, because even if there was an instant where that happened, like as soon as that day rolls around again, everyone who's born, like they're just fucked. Like every year,
everyone is bored. 0 people, 100 million people. How the fuck do you deal with it? That'd be funny. That needs to happen.
So
everyone should share a birthday. Then everyone would celebrate on the same day, and it would be the biggest celebration of all time. More kids would get created because it's a birthday, so every kid has to get created on that day. It's the day of fucking. That's what we're gonna call it.
But Ryan, you're pregnant for 9 months, not 12.
Shit, you're right. Fuck. You see, you poke holes into my theory, and now it's not theory. It's just the rantings of a crazy drunk wine man.
Everyone just gets pregnant on the same day, 9 months in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we changed the rules of sex, Kyle. So the moment you actually have sex unprotected, insta-kid that night. Just next morning you wake up, oh, there's a baby. Oh, shit.
Whether he's sober or drunk, Ryan still can't get his entire head in the frame. It's the same place.
Wilson.
Yeah, and then he tries to do it low, and then it's way too low.
How about that, boys?
For the record, 4 people are born every second of every day on average.
Fuck! No, that's not worth a yell, but
4,
it's pretty
8,
crazy.
12, 16.
Shit, yeah, you guys are casting. I'm gonna drop and come back.
All right, sounds good, Ryan.
With real stuff. Well, I mean, oh shit! How do I shut this shit off?
Interesting. Hold on. I just found a really interesting Wikipedia page on
alcohol. Oh, there's Ryan. Hey, Ryan. You made it.
He made it.
I was really worried that you had actually just thrown your phone out the window like I jokingly said to.
But I can see Ryan.
I was actually having more of a legitimate conversation with Andrew. Sorry.
During a cast? That's so unprofessional.
About my noise levels, because we have a third roommate here.
Right.
So for those who don't know, I'm a loud person naturally, without even knowing it. My mic's on low quality for a reason, because if it was on high, no one would hear anyone else. True story.
It's
also,
true.
Happy birthday to Ryan with the wine.
He's drinking more.
This is good. Happy birthday, Ryan, by the way.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
Thank you. Today is May
29.
9th. It is my birthday. Yeah, I'm almost 30. I'm almost at the age where I'm like, fuck, that's it. I'm gonna have to call it a life.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!
No,
Is
I'm
this the cry
joking.
for help?
Well,
No.
I mean, we always joked that Ryan was like
30's
40 years older than he actually is, based on his
Yeah,
attitude.
exactly. I'm almost 80 from my own mind. Like,
Oh, Ryan, this is a fun thing. So today, in fact, it was exactly 3 years ago that we celebrated your birthday
I hate to
in
interrupt you
Toronto.
very quickly, but what cast are we doing right now? We're
This is
live.
closing keyboards because you said it earlier.
Okay. Well,
You
we
made
weren't
the
talking about
decision.
any video games, so I just wanted to
Oh,
make
we did while
sure.
you were gone. It's fine.
Okay,
But
cool.
we're going off
10
topic a
second
little bit.
ejects, right, boys? 10-second ejects.
No. I've never heard of that game before.
Well, let me do the deep dive. It's a
Okay,
action
no.
platformer.
Keep going.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I reviewed. I gave it 5 stars. It's a great game.
I'm sure that you
It's no
did.
longer on PlayStation Plus, but it's worth $20. I think it's only 15 on PSN right now. Buy it, play it. It's good.
But Ryan, I've been way too busy playing Hostess Club
Yakuza.
Simulator.
Hostess Club Simulator? Do
AKA
tell.
it's
Yakuza.
Yakuza. Yeah.
All right. So you were gonna say something that I interrupted you from. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that like when we met at Chris's place, that was 3 years ago, and there's a 3-year age difference between us. And you were like, "Oh, when you're my age, you'll understand how all the aches and pains of an old man's body come in."
All right. Okay.
So
say
now that
say
I'm,
how you
now that
feel
I'm
right
3 years
now.
older, not that bad. Like I take care of him. Here's the fun thing. So
Okay.
you and I have had this conversation before, but I don't think we've ever included Shane. After I got health insurance, some of it covers massage therapy. So I started getting massages to fix my body. Although I have been really undiligent about that since I started, like when I started dating Alex, because I did a lot more traveling. But I mentioned, like, as Ryan was like, "Oh yeah, I have like a lot of back pain," and I'm like, "Well, why don't you go do that?" And he's like, "Nope, couldn't do it. Couldn't let a stranger touch my body like that. That would be weird." And I'm like, I understand like the thought process, but when I explained exactly how that situation went, he didn't agree.
Okay.
Where do you? Okay, I'll let Ryan do his thing first, and then
Listen,
we'll get Shane's opinion.
Okay. I'm a little tipsy here, so Ryan is a little unhinged. So you're getting
Oh no!
Oh no.
unhinged Ryan on the internet. All that means is that I haven't vetted my thoughts before they come out my mouth. So that
How's
means
that
about
different than
9
normal?
you'll get about 90% accuracy. There'll be about a 10% of just that filter where you're like, okay, Ryan, hey, it's not actually that bad. You know when you see like basically it's the difference between a logical argument or a logical argument mixed with hate talk. Sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I've read enough garbage about how this is going to go the other way, so I'm just going to throw that big huge lament. I'm going to call you a libtard because I can. Like
Okay, Ryan,
that
call,
type of
call me
that
call
type
me a libtard because I
of-
think
you're
that
not a
massage
libtard, but
therapy is
anyway.
good.
So I have been lately thinking about, and there's a fundamental part of we're going too far into the introspective. Uh, we're caring about how intelligent we are as a species, that type of humanity. When we analyze things, it's very elitist. It's, oh, well, not only do I deserve not just subpar media, but it can't just use tropes. It has to use this. It gets so extreme. Lately, I've been reading something about it called prestige TV shows. That's like looking at things like Mr. Robot and Halt and Catch Fire and shows, a lot of shows I love, and it's just ripping them apart because it uses tropes like Game of Thrones uses, and they even rip apart Game of Thrones for the same reason. Oh, nudity. Oh, characters die. Oh, you there's a formula to the rules. It's like, so what? There's a formula. That doesn't mean it's unintelligent or because there's a formula. It's like this idea that just, oh, it's unoriginal. Screw it. It's unoriginal. It can't be good. It's like, are you kidding me? The actual amount of unoriginal work that exists out there in the world, like the fact that the amount of it is so low, and the amount of it that we cherish even lower than that. Like, it's like people go, oh, this is inspired by Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson is one of a fucking kind for a reason. Like, of course there isn't a million of him. Of course the industry is just filled with people who are inspired by that. That doesn't make that stuff bad. It just doesn't make it great. Like, it's like this idea that if it's not great, it's not worth it. And it's like, you know what? Greatness is very rare. That's why it's so freaking valuable. There's only one Wayne Gretzky for a reason. You know what I mean?
He's the great
Anyway.
one. Yeah. So what does that have to do with my question, Ryan? I agreed with that. I loved you. Like, I loved that rant. But what
Go
did
back. I had a thought process. Go back. Say your question again.
Oh yeah. So like you said that you thought it was weird that I got massage therapy to like for healing purposes.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I was thinking. Going on the lineup. Anyway,
Just
humanity has gone so far.
I just want to say before you start, just so everyone knows, this is technically controllers and keyboards, but this is also the Ryan birthday special. So that's what's going on.
I think we'll call it controllers and keyboards ... and filibusters because we're gonna get some random Ryan rants.
I'm a crazy individual. That's all you need to know. I'm a crazy.
So anyway, sorry, you were saying we're going too far with nature.
Okay, so we're going too far in the critical perspective where everyone thinks they're better than what they are. We're fucking monkeys. We are. Admit it, people. We're fucking monkeys. We are. Look at a monkey. Look at you. Look back through history. How long ago was it that we were monkeys? Not that fucking long ago. So stop getting so entitled to think that you deserve shows that are, oh, this is too prestige. It involves too many tropes. There's money being made on this. I have to just get out of it. And it goes to the point of massage therapy. Who the fuck are you to think that you need massage? Who cares if you only live 70 years? We're fucking monkeys. We're monkeys. That's all I'll say. We're monkeys.
All right, so I'll counter that.
We're evolved monkeys, and it's awesome how far we've come. But I feel like nobody ever looks at how far we fucking come. Look at the last 200 years. Humanity hasn't advanced this fast and this far in 200 years in history. Like the fact that people could complain about the Kardashian show on television and their ice cream sandwich in 2017 versus complaining about living in 1917 is insane. It's insane. It's insane. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. Everyone's just like, fuck it. My ice cream sandwich isn't the right brand. Well, then get the fuck out of town, you monkey. Like, so you don't have a right to. It's cool that massage therapy works, but if a fellow monkey doesn't give a shit about massage therapy, it doesn't matter. We're monkeys. We're fucking mammals who live on a planet with other mammals. And just because we're a little bit better than those other mammals doesn't mean we have a right to tell other mammals, oh shit, man, you're back. Like, fuck it. We're all going to die before 100 anyway. If you live past 100, you'll be a lucky man. You know that just as well as I do. So let's live up to that. We're mammals.
Your position isn't that I shouldn't be able to have them because I have discomfort from working. It's that you think it's that you don't want them. Is that correct? Or
it's that having them shouldn't be considered so normal that if you don't have them, there's something wrong with you.
I didn't think
that's what I hate about this current society. It's like it's so much like that. It's like if you're not evolved enough, fuck, you want to be more like a mammal? Of course I do. I'm a mammal. I can't help it.
It's not about not being evolved enough. It's like it's relaxing.
It's pseudoscience. There's no actual evidence that support both chiropractic and massage therapy. You can look it up, Kyle. There's no evidence that says
I'd like to step in here as the resident.
Go ahead, step in.
Number generator.
I've heard from legit doctors who've said that the science that supports that isn't purely legitimate.
You don't think that like
does
working
it feel
out
better? Sure, but how much
issues in your muscles?
Placebo. How much of that is the placebo factor? How much of that is the
placebo? Not much of it, I don't think.
Okay, so when it comes to chiropractic, yeah, I will agree that from what I've heard, chiropractic practice is not necessarily all 100% good for all people all the time. And I understand that that's a pretty common perspective, and I don't have enough research to back that up. Massage therapy, however, has been used for many years by many people who are elite athletes to help them build muscle faster.
Keep in mind,
train harder.
I'm not saying that I disagree with massage therapy.
But you're no, hold on, no.
I'm saying that just because I don't think it's a big enough deal shouldn't be some offensive statement. Kyle's reacting as if I'm saying they're like it's like this huge logical
no.
True science versus not science, and it's like that's not what's happening at all. I'm just saying I'm just saying that it doesn't matter to me. If it matters to you, cool. Like
Shane, you go first, and then I'll do my part. But
yeah, so
correct the drunk Ryan.
Well, no, it's just I just want to make sure that the premise is solid, and the premise is that massage therapy doesn't work, and I think that is at the very least
Kyle,
and at the most
does it work better for like stresses? Is that kind of its big thing?
Dude, have you never had a massage before?
I've never had a massage in my life. Okay, talking to the person who's been to a doctor maybe 3 times. I've never had a physical in my life, Shane. Like I'm a crazy. Because I don't trust that system.
You're getting to that age where you need to start getting like colonoscopies and stuff, dude.
I've been thinking about it lately too. I've been sitting there thinking like, hey man, I could have cancer. I might not even know it.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention, I'm just going to take an excerpt here. I'm just going to share something really quickly. Now, this is from the National Institutes of Health, which is fairly reputable when it comes to sources on literature for things related to medical stuff. Sorry, my brain's not working here. Medical things. And basically, the abstract here suggests that provides fairly robust. Now, this is a study of studies, just to throw that out there. So a bunch of studies have been done over the years, and the study suggests this study here is studying those studies to kind of come up with trends, and it suggests that provides massage therapy provides fairly, or the research on massage therapy provides fairly robust support.
Low back pain.
Yeah, for low back pain, but only moderate support for such effects such as headache pain. But it suggests that there is an effect on those areas of your body.
Okay, so I'll just say it, having never had a massage, I'm assuming right now, as a physical human body, based on the work history and schedule and lifestyle choices of our colleagues here, that I probably have the worst back and body.
Agreed. That's why
that's probably a fair agreement, right?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
Sure you can all agree. These two guys, Shane's mostly more worked office gigs until his brief time in Joyce Only, and Kyle's worked food gigs. I worked food gigs, and then I transitioned into legit warehouse work, where your back gets freaking destroyed. Lifting doors and at Home Depot as a perfect example on things like I can, there are times where I wake up in the morning and I stretch, and it's like Shane knows this. I will yell like a freaking damaged person sometimes when I stretch.
I've heard you do it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, great. I've been in front of Kyle for weeks too. So they both heard me do the Ryan stretch, as everyone likes to call it.
Yeah, which is, I'm pretty sure how this whole conversation got started, where I was like, Ryan, like is that normal for you? And you were like, yeah, totally. And I was like,
part of the reason people call me an old man is because, in comparison to my peers, I've done a lot more labor work, and that has a toll on my body. To my parents, by the way, to my dad, this is a joke, right? Like, I haven't done any labor work. My dad's worked freaking 40 years in construction, right? But that's the thing, right? I haven't done that time, but everyone else has office jobs now. That's what everyone does. So as somebody who works in the food industry and is on my feet all day, I'm not going to try to say that, like, I'm not going to try to one up you, but I think that I'm in more of a, there's more of a physical toll on my body from working like too many hours in a day or too many days in a week. Yeah. I can feel like a very big difference on myself after 5 days and going into my 2 days off than I can after my first day, which is why I started doing this. So there is like a bit of like a stress relief part to it too, which is probably like a little bit more placebo, like the oils smell nice and they always have calming music and the light is down. Kyle, I should probably state that for listeners, the reason that I haven't had a massage, I'm not against them per se. I just feel weird. I'm not big on like anyone touching my personal space. Yeah. That's where I was going in general. So like the idea of someone like rubbing me doesn't feel comforting. It feels like, especially on my neck, when someone's like touched my neck, like from behind, people sometimes grab your neck from all my muscles instantly tense up. Like I just like if I touch my neck, there's no problem.
Maybe it is placebo. But the muscle relaxing effects are not, and the stress reducing effects. Well, are effective.
I don't doubt that they work. I don't doubt that there's something happening there. I've seen people get massages. I remember I used to live in Sylvan Lake before Red Deer. I currently live in Red Deer, Alberta. There was a chick friend of one of our roommates that Shane used to live with me at the time, Scott. She used to give massages, and I saw her give him a massage while I was sitting there on the computer or something. She was just giving him a relaxed massage, and it was like, I see why people like it. It's just I've never done it, and like I said, I'm not against people invading my personal space, but keep in mind, I'm the type of guy who, even when I go to the hairdresser, it bugs me because I just don't. What does it matter? Remember, I'm the type of person who also hates fashion and hates every etiquette because I'm just like, people are again. Remember my previous debate? We're all mammals. Why do we give a shit?
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Why would you choose a life? Why would you choose a life that's less comfortable and?
Yeah,
but comfortable to who?
To you.
Comfortable to you.
If you don't have back
to you.
Do you not think that would feel better? Just okay, Ryan.
But I'm good as I am. I'm good as I am.
Hypothetical.
It's not up for you to make that decision.
No, I'm not making the decision. That's why I'm asking. Okay, so hypothetical, Ryan. If I had like a laser that I could zap you and then no back problem, would you take the zap or not? There's no other side effects to it.
Okay. So the question you're asking is a good question.
I'm leading. That should be an automatic yes. But
About normally for me it'd be about a 95% yes, but there is that 5% that sits there in my brain and it nags. It's sitting there going, well, what's the context? What's the circumstances?
I'm getting
is it just
to
a
that.
laser?
Right now,
or do
we're
I
just
need to like
talking-
get a full body checkup and a rub
No,
down before I
right
get the
now-
laser?
Okay, so
You know, like how weird is this situation?
Ryan, this is a series of questions. This specific thing is just like we're sitting in a room. I go, and then your back just feels better, and that's
Then
it.
I do it 100%.
Yeah. Cool. That's what I thought. Okay, so the thing is, what you've decided is that the trade-off to the better feeling back is not worth the having to get your personal space invaded by a stranger. Is that what you're saying? Is that a fair statement?
It's not the personal, and it's not even a stranger. People I know even have hugged.
Okay, but
Okay, relatives try to hug me, and I'm just like Shane knows this.
Yeah.
I'm the awkwardest hugger of all
My
time.
mom hugged you all the time.
Because I'm just
That
like,
sounds
I don't
great.
understand. I don't
Okay.
get it. Like,
So
again, I'm Spock. For everyone knows, I don't understand what people get from a hug. What are you
sure,
getting?
that's not what I'm getting.
What are you?
That's
What,
not
what
I'm
are you
asking,
obtaining
Ryan.
from this? Your
Right.
skin touches my skin. Hello, fellow mammal. Skin touch. Yeah. Like I just don't get it. I don't understand.
So, but so is my statement relatively correct though? It's not that you're against having the better back feeling. It's that it's not worth the trade-off of having someone invade your personal space and have that intimate
it's more that
experience.
It's not. See, you guys, and you guys, right now,
Oh,
Shane and Kyle are presenting a perspective that's like, there's so much benefit with very little cost, right?
Well, no,
And
that's what I'm trying to ask. Is like, what is that? What you're saying is that I'm not trying to put
here's
words
the
in your
thing.
mouth. I'm trying to dissect where your argument's going
Look
and then
at the
build off of
sun.
that.
To look at the sun, it basically. I'm looking at the sun right now. Anyway, I'm not.
No, I was like, it's 1 a.m. here. It's like 11 there.
It's the basic analogy of half glass empty or half glass.
Right. Well, it's a personal thing, right?
Where for you guys, you're seeing it as half glass full. Look at all the benefits you could get.
No,
for this
Ryan.
invasion of
When you
personal
weigh
space.
out,
and for me, I look at the benefits and go, I'm not such a bitch that I give a shit about the back pain. I'll stretch and I'll go to bed. Like fuck it, we're mammals. Like that's the thing. Own up to your goddamn species, you entitled sons of bitches. So what? You deal with some back pain through your life.
We're helping other people,
2017. You know who should be dealing with? You know who should be dealing with the conundrums that the entitled younger generation believes they should be dealing with? People 100 years down the road. We're not there yet.
So,
just because
Ryan,
you want to be there doesn't mean we're there.
I'm
only a few generations
removed
from the industrial age. Like, get out of it, people. Come
I
on.
helped someone have a job in a field that they love and they've gone to school for. Because, by the way, RMTs actually do go to school.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, do they not have the right to have a job because everyone should be more of a badass? Anyways, I wasn't trying to put words in what I was.
Job, obviously.
Yeah, in a field that they love.
But to me, I view the massages on the same level as taking your kids to ER when you have a cold. It's unnecessary. Deal with the fucking cold, you baby. Deal with the fucking back pain. It ain't the end of the world. You're a fucking
you think it's intense enough to be considered an ER
go
trip?
to fucking, oh shit, I got my back pain. Give me the Tylenol T3s, honey. No, they just deal with it because they're mammals. Like, who the fuck do you think you are that you don't deserve? Like, fuck off, you. Ugh. That shit should be for people who lose limbs, not for people who
in
have
some cases it is.
Yeah.
Oh
it is.
shit! I'm
Okay, so Ryan,
I need a little bit of attention.
Shane, I got this one. So Ryan, you're right. In a lot of cases, they do work on people like that. Do you think that their exclusive cases should be people who are in that much trouble so that they aren't practiced?
Of course.
Because if they fuck up on me, I'm sore for a couple days. If they fuck up on the guy with the burn, his
then you're
recovery
talking,
now is
you're
6
obviously
extra
talking
months.
about the law of averages, the law of the fact that even if you have expert staff, eventually they're going to make mistakes.
This world that you live in, where we're mammals, Ryan, that is that law. That is that world. The law of averages.
Of course it is. But then shouldn't people live with it? Nobody lives with it. A perfect example is athletes.
Why should we though? Because you know what? Okay, no. Just hear me out here, Ryan. Because I'm gonna go. I'm
Let's
gonna
see
take Ryan's perspective here.
So the greatest controller and keyboards Gamecast, by the way.
We're probably just gonna call this feedback and filibusters. The Ryan's birthday edition.
But I just want to go back to you know what you said about us being mammals, and you're right. We are mammals. So there's a few things here. The first one is that way back in the day, we had to fight and struggle to survive to get food, right? Then we managed to over time, for most people in the developed world, we've managed to overcome that. Once we had a steady supply of food, we could do things like, and I should say this way back like 10,000 years ago, before the developed world existed, we created agriculture. From agriculture, we created cities. From cities, we created, the gigantic, massive global networks of things that we have today. So why is it that with all the things that we've done, that for some reason we shouldn't, because you're not saying we can't, you're saying we shouldn't be okay with indulging in some of the things that make us feel better, even if they're not like life-threatening, even if they're not.
It's Shane, it's not the indulgement that's the issue. It's the extensiveness of the indulgement, to the point that it replaces indulgement. Like, for example, when I go to the store, if I were to go to the store with you right now and we were to indulge on some ice cream, both of us not only would make the decision to indulge on ice cream, both of us would acknowledge to each other, probably socially, whatever, it's okay. So like, whenever anyone does anything bad food-wise, almost any time, people recognize it socially. Why? Because we've acknowledged the fact that we're eating in excess. We're not doing what our body should be doing. But it's okay. It's okay to cheat. It's okay to have fun. That's the whole point of this civilization. But with stuff like the way the back massage approach has been happening, you start seeing things like in sports, athletes, it's mandatory after every game. Like, it becomes well, you can't take that away from me. It's a right. It's like, no, this is an indulgement. You guys treat this like it's a right because we live in such a modern society.
Well,
that's taking the throttle too far to the perspective of I don't recognize where we came from and how far it is. We're not that far removed from it.
Okay. Two things. First off, athletes are high performance. They're machines. They need to be retooled. And I think that
there's a lot of bad instances where athletes, Kyle knows what I'm talking about, because you can see lots of examples of it in the NHL where athletes get mamby-pamby.
Oh, sure.
Regardless of whether or not they're machines, Shane. It's their job to deal with the psychological problems. If they can't not have a massage before game day,
physical problem. That's why they have mental issues. But they're like, well, now I'm sore and I can't perform at peak.
Bench players if they ask for too many massages, because it's like, get out of here, deal with it. Because in the playoffs, you're going to get hurt and hit, and it's just this idea that you're entitled to the massage.
Why are the coaches?
I can understand
too many. If they're like,
because
I'm playing with
a sign of weakness, Kyle. It's a sign of weakness. Do you think freaking 300? Do you think freaking what's his name from Spartacus was freaking taking massages? He was killing motherfuckers. That's what he was doing.
Anymore.
Did he live, Ryan?
But the point is, you're trying to channel greatness. You're at your greatest when you're at your most tested. Like, you can't say we're going to channel greatness and then take the night off. That's not how that works.
It's not about taking the night off, Ryan. You can practice longer if you do that.
Have massages. I'm just saying that when it becomes an entitled right, that's wrong. I don't agree with that.
Who called it an entitled right?
It's a gift extra. Lots of people. Like, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this stuff.
Then we're getting into the issue of abuse of substances, of which you could get into with anything. Do you disagree that anything in moderation can be okay? Like alcohol, for example, fast food, massages.
I get what you're getting at. You're saying that I'm basically trying to summarize what is a bigger issue that is actually smaller. There is a sect of people who abuse the system, just like there's a sect of people who abuse any addictive system.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make the whole of this system wrong.
Yeah,
and you're right.
So go into me, for example, Ryan.
But at the same time, I'll still say I don't identify with it. Like, it's not that necessarily it's a weakness to it. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm giving in if I were to get a massage. But even when I went into a spa for the first time, like, it took me a bit to get used to that, because it was just like, there is a level of relaxation that doesn't feel earned, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that means I'm against indulging. Like, I mean, obviously I'm drinking.
Obviously, right now.
Yeah, like, I indulge all the time. It's just, it feels too extreme. Like,
okay,
it
so
just feels like, man, I don't know if I should go. Like, man, like, what did I do today?
We'll go with
what am I doing right now?
With me as an example, then, Ryan. So outside of specific instances towards the start where I was going in like more frequently because the massage therapist said, I need to see you like 3 times in the next 2 weeks in order to work out this very specific issue. Outside of that, I was going about once every 4 to 6 weeks. Would you call that indulging? Or would you call that?
No. You're not in that category.
Okay. Would you say that when I was going in,
it was just you guys were bringing up the broader idea of like what I dislike about massages, and other than So you think that people indulge in them too much? There's also the aspect of, I think there's a culture that indulges in, health benefits too much, to a degree that it's like, we don't need to be perfect, guys. And in fact, you're probably not going to be perfect anyway, even if you try real hard. Like, there was an episode in Community, you might remember, Kyle, where Joel McHale's character, Jeff Winger, he tried so hard to be super healthy, and then there was an episode where he went to a doctor and he told him, well, you got to cut out your egg yolks because your cholesterol's too bad. And he just freaked, like it was the end of the world. Well, I tried so hard. It's like, it reminds
Jeff
me
Winger's
of
not a real person, Ryan. Jeff Winger's a crazy, is a
of course, but
sociopath.
the point is that there are people like that.
Sure, but you don't have to
across the
associate, like, you don't have to.
People who go to Weight Watchers who are skinnier than you, girls, and they're just sitting there thinking they're overweight. That
Right, well,
exists. There are
yes,
people out
that
there
is.
who are
That's
freaking crazy.
That's a mental
It's a
issue.
mental health issue. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
either like anorexia or bulimia or something along those lines. Which
Yeah, and
then it's
but
that's a different problem. They're treating.
But that problem wouldn't exist if people just took a little perspective, is all I'm saying.
Not
If you just
necessarily
stop
true.
before you deep
There-
dive on a thing and
What
just
about-
think
okay,
about it,
let's-
think
No,
about it in
but-
contrast not only to its own existence, but the existence of it elsewhere.
But
Like,
let's
it just
consider
feels like
that-
people who are stuck in a bubble.
But let's consider that the people who are, because I think the people you're talking about, they sound like they have an addiction to it more than anything else. It doesn't, because
Yeah.
being entitled basically implies that you are expecting it all the time whenever you want it, kind of, right? So I think that a lot of these
demand.
people probably suffer from some sort of addictive personality, and also maybe problems dealing with impulses, which are well cataloged mental issues. And these could be people who are really rich, they can be people who are not so rich but want to live that kind of lifestyle. I mean, it can be just regular middle class people.
Income is irrelevant, even social status.
But that's
at
what I'm
that point.
saying, is that so basically what you're pointing out then, if I'm understanding properly, is that some people have highly have untreated mental issues which lead them to do things that you disagree with. And I think that that's a completely fair thing to say.
Yeah,
I also
absolutely.
just-
Yeah, but I'm also stating, for the record, that even outside the fact, like, I'm just stating that yes, there, one, like most things, the massage therapy or chiropractic, or let's just call it the in quotes legitimate drugs trade. This pharmaceuticals.
Whoa, those are different than drugs.
We're getting into very different territory.
I'm putting it in quotes because I put them in the same thing as, like, supporter of pharmaceutical drugs, for example.
Those are very different things, though.
They
One,
are.
I'm not saying they're the same thing. I'm just saying I put them in the same category.
they're not in the same category.
No. In the same category of trust levels, Kyle, in terms of how much I actually legitimately think that's the answer. Like, when you look at an issue, like, let's assume a person has back problems, right? If a person goes into a chiropractor, I will look at the back problem issue and go, I don't know if I 100% believe the chiropractor is the answer to fixing this person's back problem. I would look at the same thing with the pharmaceutical drugs. Maybe someone has depression. Just because they go on antidepressants, I do not have 100% faith that that's exactly how you cure that person's problem. And I feel like there's been this, just like the schooling system, this one size fits all approach to that style of handling problems.
So who do you think should be diagnosing them then?
Nobody. I'm not okay.
Oh my.
Professionals, maybe?
Before we deep dive into this, I'm not saying I have a solution either.
No, I didn't think that you did. And I didn't think
I'm
you were
just saying
trying
I
to.
disagree with it, because there's just been so many cases where you see people that just overuse, if we're talking about pharmaceutical drugs,
Sure.
pharmaceutical drugs. And I'm not even talking about the addictive personality cases. I'm talking about the people who think they're taking what people have prescribed them to help them. And then later on you go and find, well, were diagnosed with something else, but the doctors didn't really know about that at the time and what they prescribed. This idea that drugs fix things, I don't feel you can understand what a person's going through until you take them off everything, drugs included, pharmaceutical or not. You can't really figure out what a person.
The Dr. House method.
Yes.
And it seems like in every
Well.
episode, he either takes them off of everything and sees what happens, or he puts them on everything and sees what happens.
Now that said, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to say, "Hey, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. This."
Well,
is what
let
I would
me
do."
give you an
I'm
example.
just saying that in terms of trust level, I treat stories or news articles or whatever about pharmaceutical or chiropractors, or even anecdotal evidence, like Kyle saying, "Oh, I went and had a good massage." I treat it on the same level of that's very situational. It's very probably, and that's good, but I don't know if it contributes to an overall narrative, because that overall narrative is defined by a lot of questionable decisions of a system that isn't completely thought through, and in both cases, and that's not their fault. it's early stages of that type of stuff. We're talking about alternative medicines at this point. It's still not even completely approved medicines. If it was, there'd be a chiropractic in every hospital, and there isn't. Why? Because it's still considered an alternative medicine. Until it's a legit medicine, that's when I'll trust it. But I'm not at that
Well,
level
hospitals
yet.
are also for more.
And I don't think there's something wrong with saying I'm going to be reserved before I fully commit to that thought process.
Hospitals are also for more like instantaneous problems, right? Like I'm sick or I have an injury or like a high impact injury. These are more preventative.
No crossover from people who get their doctorate to.
So what about? Let me give you an example of an innovative potential solution here. Personalized medicine. So this basically solves or should solve most of the problems associated with one-size-fits-all medical. Basically what happens is you go to a doctor, and in addition to whatever other tests they might do, they also do a DNA test. This DNA test will tell them what you are susceptible for, or what you're susceptible to, what drugs are more likely to work for you, what things will have bad effects on you when you take them, and also possibly what kind of DNA style treatment they can actually do to.
So Shane's angle here is technology solves the problem,
no,
which is true.
But it does help.
It gives you the tools to make make informed decisions. Because right now you're making decisions.
Like Shane, one of the things I like to compare this to is media. It's one of those things where you have to get all the sources before you can start making a confirmed opinion.
Yeah, and certainly like medicine is right now, it's a very incomplete picture that doctors get, although I would argue that it is the best picture that they've ever had in the history of the human
true.
species.
Oh, absolutely.
I was the person arguing earlier for perspective, so I'll obviously state that, medicine now compared to 100 years ago, like look at the difference. Like, of course, that technology advancement is everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, for me,
it's not an untrustingness of it. It's like I said, it's not an untrustingness of massages or that type of angle that has me against it. It's just it's to the degree where it's like, I'm like, it's not completely confirmed science. It's not completely unconfirmed either, but is it necessary? And for me, the question always is no, it's not necessary.
So what I would
maybe
ask,
I die at 70 instead of 90 or whatever. I could extend my life.
it's not even about that. It's like, do I live more comfortably for those 70 years?
But I'm happy with. See, Kyle, remember we're from different. I don't want to say we're from completely different lifestyles. You're a person who's lived as a waiter and obviously lived on his own, but my lifestyle choices have led me to the point where any little victory is enough. I mean,
you're also somebody who values.
People have lived to far less than what I've lived to. So I'm perfectly content with the fact that, you know what? Is it comfortable enough? Maybe not, but it doesn't have to be. Not everyone is worth that, Kyle. And if everyone was, we wouldn't all be able to live on the world.
Sure we would.
Some of us have to accept the fact that we're lesser. You just have to.
Yeah, some people are. But if I like to think that people who are smart enough to seek or to try to better themselves will live longer, and that's right? It's to a lesser extent now, because before, if you were too dumb, you got stabbed by something or you fell off a cliff. And now it's like, you just have.
But now you're in the harsh dynamic where it's more situational than based on actual conditions.
Sure, but if I can live longer, because I would like that, because self-preservation. I think that my life is worth the most to me out of everyone's lives, except for debatably Alex's, which I wouldn't know about.
Keyboards. What have you guys been talking about game-wise?
Oh no, I kind of want to keep on with this just because. I feel like we're dancing around the issues, but we're getting to some very deep thoughts where you're not necessarily Shane's kind of burst through and understood where you're coming from with points you haven't.
By the way, for those who don't know, Shane has known me as of this birthday, since it is my 29th birthday. I can't believe it.
I'm really glad you got that one right.
Of course I did. I'm not that tipsy. Shane has known me for now officially 15 years.
So more than half of your life.
I've known Shane since before I was 14. So before half my life, I've known Shane. I remember giving a toast at Shane's wedding. I was the best man at his wedding.
I really wish I could have heard that toast. You were so nervous.
I thought I did a good job with the toast about how introducing Katie into the fold.
I'll take your word for it. I wasn't there.
I was nervous as hell. People who don't know, I'm a great. Sorry, I say I'm a great caster. People say I have a great radio voice, but
you do.
You do.
But
it's different when you're in front of people. Nerves, like nobody's business about the camera stuff until we get going. Like Shane probably remembers when we used to do uptag before we did it. There was super nerves on my end, and then we got started, and people were just responding like, "Oh, you seem so comfortable and confident." I'm like, Jesus, why am I so nervous about it then? It's an actor's thing. I hear lots of rumors about that stuff. I will say marijuana cures those nerves pretty good.
Yeah, and I want to say as well too,
Ryan, I don't believe in your alternative medicine.
Shit, dog. Well, it's from the Earth, and it's got hundreds and thousands of years of science behind it.
Do you think that if someone
Last I
touches
checked,
you with
boys,
a body that's not
Gandalf did it,
from
and I
the
don't
Earth?
give a shit if it's another dimension. We all know it's another dimension thousands of years ago. That dude shot lightning. He had a staff. There was a dragon. That obviously was thousands of years ago.
Maybe it was more recently, and they were just really high, and they thought he was shooting lightning.
Shit, Lord of the Rings, as imagined with technology. Frodo's just like, oh, what do you mean walk? I just sent a button on my app here, and now I just sent the ring over there. The
Amazon's-
I
drone
just
yeah,
UPS
Amazon's
the
delivering
ring
the
to
drone.
Mordor. Yeah, we just skipped out on everything. I never had to leave the Shire. So just
Shit, that was easy, guys.
Just to get back to the original form, because it's. I think that we're making real progress in understanding, because I'm using the massage as a tool, Ryan. It's not that I'm trying to like live or die in these things, but it's a very good tool for like
more like a hammer or more like a screwdriver.
You're a tool. So your issue.
What I'm saying is it's a level. You got to make sure that area that you're measuring and cutting is perfectly level.
So we've agreed that if you like that you agree that fixing your back, if there's no cost to it, is worth it, even though you're thing. So it's that what you think is that the trade-off to the back solution isn't worth the inconveniences. So like to someone like me, it is, because I don't get as uncomfortable. No, hang on.
Inconveniences lead to financial inconvenience as well. I'm not a
which
we're going to lay it out on
to.
the line now. I'm not a rich individual. So to me, in terms of priority of what I would spend money on, it's very low.
We're getting to that.
I mean, remember too, it gets lower because the more you live with it, the more you learn to live with it. So
we're getting to that. Like I'm going one step at a time, which all of these can be like very legitimate points that you're making. But we've already hit the point where like if it was a no problem, like no inconveniences thing, you would take the back pain reduction because cool. Like for me, it's easy to say like, yeah, I do it because it's worth it, because I don't get as uncomfortable with people touching me, and I don't have as much of a financial
issue. There's also this
right?
other aspect, Kyle.
Sure.
Shane might not to interrupt you, but Shane might know a little bit what I'm talking about. So around these social circles, so around my younger friends, for those who don't know, Kyle's a little bit younger than me. Shane's a little bit younger
3 years.
than me. Shane's a year, Kyle's a couple of years.
3.
But you guys all treat me like I'm weird and old, right? Like my back
that's a
problems
meme.
are weird.
I don't
right?
No, it's totally a meme. It's 100% a meme. And you bring it on yourself all the time by calling yourself old and doing the cracking thing and the.
But I don't do that intentionally. I just do it because that's just okay. Do you think I not do that when you guys aren't around? I do. Before I go to bed, I do these crazy stretches where I just kill my body because I'm just like, I gotta stretch, because if I don't, my legs are gonna fall off. Like I'm always remembered by that scene in Entourage where Ari's just like, I'm not stretching for you. I'm stretching because I want to frickin' live. And I'm just like, that's why I'm doing it. Because
so
if you work in an office setting, you don't get a lot of extras. Like I do a little bit, but if you don't get a lot, then it's important to keep your limbs stretched and ready.
Sure. So what if I could say that instead of cracking your back and causing yourself immeasurable pain, you could get someone like a medical professional to just like fix it for you?
But that's what happened. That's what you guys think in this social circle. When I talk about saying, "Oh, I haven't been to a doctor in years," and this happened even when Shane and Dane were around, Shane would say, well, "That's crazy. What's wrong with you?" But then if I go home to my parents and that social circle, if I talk about going to a doctor or massage therapist, then I'm the crazy one. You guys understand the difference? It's a complete. So I grew up in that environment. So my mindset, for those who don't know, I had a knife go through my foot and my dad wrapped it in gauze in grade 6. That's it. That's all we did. I didn't go to a doctor. When I was 4, and if I were to ever shave, you would see that underneath my beard, there's a scar on my chin, because when I was 4, I was reaching up for the toothpaste, which God forbid I should use more of now because I have terrible teeth. I'm like a British person, but I slipped and cut my chin. I slid and cut my chin wide open. My mom wanted to take me to the hospital, and my dad said no. So I didn't, and so now I have a scar. So my family's perspective, my dad grew up in a fishing village in Conch, Newfoundland of Canada. Whenever it was serious, like someone actually like needed health or they would die, a helicopter would be flown in. They didn't have a road when he was growing up. You know, my dad's dad made him pick up jellyfish by his bare hand when he was growing up as a kid and burn his hand. Like he grew up in a different, not only a different time that you kids understand, a different time than even I understand. So far beyond, it was one school with 10 grades in it. Like
this is why we call you, like, we make fun of you for being the old man. There's so much that you kids understand. Even I don't understand it. All my
exactly. So far beyond the realm of where things are. So I grew up in that environment. So that's the environment I see. But we live in Alberta, so Shane knows that that's not just my dad. That's a lot of people.
That's tons of people.
There's a rural environment here that doesn't get the future leaning, and massage therapy. I hate to say it, is one of those things.
Is to go to a
no bullshit. Shane, how many massage therapists are there outside of major cities like Calgary? Red Deer might have one.
Sure.
Black Falls has one? Hell no. Do you think Ponoka or Penhold or Olds or any rural city has one? No. Why? Because there's no demand. Because nobody cares. And those people work on farms. Those people are probably, scientifically speaking, the people who could use the massage therapy more. But they don't do it. Why? Because they're not babies. They don't care.
No, they don't do it because they can't do
it. That's what it comes down to. No, they don't care about it.
Hang on. So
it's a matter of pride.
Sure.
If you're the alpha monkey, if we're going mammal, if you're the alpha monkey, you don't give a shit if your back hurts. You suck it up. You're going to die anyway.
In Red Deer, there are 87 massage therapists registered just on yellowpages.ca.
Not 87.
87.
No, there isn't.
Shane literally just looked this up.
Bullshit. Hey, you know, I say that, but my neighbor, I'm pretty sure, is the Sultana's Clinic, so they run a massage therapist, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, there's not a lot of availability around you. That's a good point.
Yeah, but
it's literally closer to you than Dane is.
The point still stands, Shane. You know what I mean. We live in a rural area where there are people who don't give a shit about that thing.
You're absolutely right, Ryan. But I'll raise you this. So that's how you were raised, and those are the worldviews you had for an early portion of your life. Now, a lot of people,
like I said, I'm not saying I disagree with it.
No, I know. Hang on, let me finish.
If you want to go get your massage, do it. I'm just saying you don't need to tell me I have to do it.
I never ever said that you have to. But let me finish my point.
There are at least 3 massage therapists in Blackfalds. Anyways,
where? Okay, has hipster culture really beaten everything down?
This is the future. This is
everyone owns vinyl. That's what you're telling me right now. Everyone.
So
sorry,
Ryan,
you're gonna go, Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the worldview you had when you were raised, and that's very commonly going to influence your early years and your teens. A lot of people spend their 20s questioning the things that they learned, myself included. Right? For example, my dad was a cop.
A lot from my parents,
and no, fair enough. But your upbringing, not necessarily just your parents, but just like the city you lived in, right?
My worldview. Shane thought I was a redneck basically when he met me.
You kind of are a redneck, Ryan, but you're more worldly redneck than most.
And he was just the guy from Red Deer. I was from Black Falls. That was the divide. Literally, the town 15 minutes away was so street that Shane's town was like, "What the fuck is this street kid?"
Well, from what I've heard about Black Falls, that's not that far off.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
I was raised to believe completely in all forms of authority. Right? I was believed to, I was raised to believe in all forms of authority because my dad was a cop. I was like, oh well, marijuana is bad for you because that's what police say.
Dare.
Right? Yeah, and when I was taking it, because obviously I took Dare, I believed wholeheartedly in it. As I grew into an older person, I started questioning the things that I learned, and I kept the things that I still agreed with, and I drop the things that didn't. Most people, because this happens all the time at the restaurant, where you can pretty much tell where someone comes from around here based off of their accent. I don't know if it's as common out west, but like I hear from someone, I'm like, oh yeah, that bitch is from Amherst, because you can just tell their voice sounds weird. You can tell someone's from Newfoundland, although that one's a pretty obvious accent. Anyone can tell where you're from Newfoundland. I don't know if it's the same thing. If you guys can tell. Like if people from Blackfalds have a different way of speaking than people from Red Deer, for example.
Yes, it's more like you can tell. It's in the prairies. I think that's a lot more homogenous. You can tell when someone comes from Saskatchewan versus Alberta sometimes, and
sure.
You can also tell when someone comes from a big city.
Also, you can tell when someone comes from Canada versus anywhere else because the word "bud" will be instituted in every other sentence.
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes up all the time at the restaurant. I have people who will ask me where I'm from, and they're shocked when I tell them I'm from Moncton because they don't think I sound like I'm from Moncton.
No,
because I don't.
You sound like you're from Toronto. You and Chris sound similar.
Right, because I speak with people from all over the country. Or
you sound modern Eastern, which is the pseudo-U.S. influence, which is almost Canadian but almost American. Shane and I sadly can't help it. I think we both sound Alberta. There's just too many terms we've heard growing up that we
more like Chris and I than he sounds like you.
Oh yeah,
in the way that he speaks.
Yeah, Ryan, you've got like this musical, silky, soft, smooth voice that like has this depth to it. So, and I don't have that. I've got nothing like that.
Coming on down to that.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting with it though, Ryan, is that like having your like being raised a certain way and having those worldviews is fine, but you have to ask yourself, not like
I mean, I don't know
you
if I have
to,
those worldviews, but okay.
You do, because you just said that like you
I mean,
look at it as a sign of weakness if
completely
you
agree that
no
everyone's entitled, but at the same time, I do think there is some entitlement going on.
sure. But when you're making personal decisions, you shouldn't be worried about what other people are going to think of you. You should worry about whether you think it makes sense or not.
You make this, that's where the divide is. It's the same thing when it comes to fashion. When someone looks at me and goes, "You got a hole in your sock." Here, I'll put it up.
He currently has a hole in his sock, of course. No, I'm not trying to tell you what your opinion should be, but when you're making an argument that has a fallacy in it, I want to see where your thought process comes from and see if you actually agree with what you're saying. I'm testing you for consistency. And so far, you haven't given me a point that stands up yet.
But that, to me, that argument that you're making legitimately just says, all right, well then you have to agree with it completely.
No. You don't have to agree with me. If you come to a reason that you like, for example, if you were to say, I think that they're fine.
I don't agree that everyone's entitled. I don't agree that everyone's entitled when it comes to massages or anything like that. I just agree that some people are. And that,
absolutely.
that is influencing some of that culture. And it's like to the degree of my sock thing. It shouldn't be a big deal that I don't have it. Like, it doesn't matter. And
no, it's not a big deal that you don't have it. It's why you're choosing not to.
That's kind of the issues. It's like, well, now we need to say we're against massages because everyone who gets them is too entitled.
No. It's not about whether you that. It's not a Ryan, the argument I'm getting out of you is not what your decision is, it's why that decision comes in. For example, if you were to say,
for me personally,
hang on, let me just finish.
Okay.
If you were to say, like, I think that they're fine for people, I'm choosing not to because of these reasons, and those reasons make sense, you don't hear me disagree. For example, if you said, I can't afford it.
No, I get what you're laying down here.
Yeah.
I understand what
or if you said, I think they're a great idea, but I'm choosing not to because of this. Or if you say, I think they're a bad idea because of this.
So when we go down that road, as you will, we start with what the question is, and we start with the response. We start with why, right? So we're trying to build the basis for why. And as we start going down, you keep going and I turn off. That's the problem.
Right.
So I don't believe it's a big enough decision to care about.
It's not specifically, but it's
but that's my point.
Deeper.
That's where I stop. Is I go, it doesn't matter to me whether I get it or I don't get it. So because I'm not getting it, whatever, I don't care.
It's not about whether you get it. I'm trying to get it.
You're saying
I'm being selfish right now.
You're saying I'm making a decision not to get a massage, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm not making a decision. I don't care.
No, you're absolutely not making a decision.
From the beginning, because it's irrelevant to me. That's the decision I'm making. And I understand people who look at it as irrelevant, and I also understand people who look at it as relevant. Like, I see it from both perspectives, but for me, I don't care. I'm not going to hate on it. I'm not going to stop it, but to me, it's just like, I'm going to die anyway. And my back doesn't bug me. Maybe one day, maybe 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road, it does, but that's not right now. That's not currently. And for me, I'm not saying the people who do complain about it and get it fixed are suddenly, they're monsters or whatever have you. But I do think that there are too many people that baby it. It's just like, you can just not care about it. Like, it's, welcome to the world. You're a monkey. Like I said, like, we're mammals. Just deal with it.
Yeah. So the reason that
who are you to say that it's not a big problem for you to deal with? Like, maybe it'll build character. Like, get out of it.
Right. So the reason that I ask you, So the reason I ask you these things, Ryan, is because everything for me,
it's not okay. Before you start, I'll just respond to Shane here quickly. Shane, I realize you're joking, and I understand the joke because I get it. Like, these irrelevant life experiences building character, but in a world where a lot of people don't have a lot of tests or challenges, that's the sad reality. Is that is the type of stuff that builds character, because a lot of people don't challenge themselves ever. They live a life where they never push themselves to any extreme. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I've lived a perfect life, but I did push myself to lows and highs for reasons, and that's to experience life at its fullest so that I could get a better grasp and understanding of what's happening in it. And then I could test myself and I could try to figure out who I am. And I'm not saying that everyone should do that, but you should test yourself once or twice.
Wait, but no, I gotta unpack that, because you said not everybody should do that, but you should test yourself every once in a while. So here's the thing: you just said one thing and then you contradicted it. Explain.
But no, not everyone should do it to the extreme that I did it. But that doesn't mean you should never do it. Is what I'm saying. Never test yourself.
Sure. Okay. So let me ask you a question then, Ryan.
With no do or die situations, then you're never going to do either of those things. You're just going to drift. You have to eventually own up and do or die. That's the point of life, isn't it? Like, there's always going to be a moment where you either succeed or fail. As much as I am an advocate of the middle point of view, which I am. People know me. I know I really advocate for
I would say
both perspectives. but there's always going to come a boiling point where there is no middle perspective. It's yes or no.
Right.
And
If you get down
have
deep
to make that decision.
Yes.
And that's hard. It's a hard point for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that it should be every decision, every point in life. And that's what a lot of people advocate for. I'm just saying that a lot of people just drift. And I don't
Right.
think
So the reason that I ask you this, Ryan, and we're going to get down to the deepest elements of this question right now, is that, and I don't necessarily fault you for it, because one, it's very interesting, and two, it teaches me a lot. But you, out of the three of us, and possibly even the four of us, if we include Chris, are somebody I think that is the least equipped to defend your opinions, because maybe it's certain things you haven't thought through. For example, if I ask Shane, if Shane and I have differing opinions on something, we will either get to a point where one of us will convince the other, or we will get to a point where we understand where there is no where there's no more room for compromise. We just understand that because of a fundamental belief that we have differing opinions. It's more difficult to get there with you because you shut the argument off earlier. So like when I get down to it, the base thing with me and like my base level of understanding is that I value consistency in a person's beliefs. I don't have to agree with them, but they have to be consistent with each other. And most of my beliefs follow the same way. And if they don't, because I'm obviously not a perfect person, I reevaluate them at that time.
Sure, but okay, then, but isn't that a hypocrisy in itself?
How so?
Because you're welcoming the fact that you can change your opinion on the fly, but the other person can't. So
I'm not at all saying that you can't change your opinion.
But then they won't have consistency, right? Will you not have consistency if you change on the fly?
Because
if you see arguments that influence your opinion to change, then your opinion is going to change, and therefore the consistency of that opinion changes.
Let me actually give you. Sorry, Kyle. I just have a analogy for this.
Yeah, I don't have one, so go for it. I think
okay. So basically, imagine The Dark Knight, right? So a movie that we both know very well. For the record, Ryan and I saw. I know. I personally
7 times in theaters. It was
in the theaters.
One of the best movies ever made. Nolan's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So now in The Dark Knight, it was a really good movie, and it was like there was so very few gripes about it, but I did have a few that we went over and we talked about. And basically, the conclusion that we ended up coming to is that they might not have been the most realistic thing ever that could have happened, but in the world in which they crafted. Yeah, they were consistent because the Joker doesn't exist in real life, but in this world where he does exist, all of these things happen as a result. That's consistency. So the Joker could have been a completely different person. He could have been anybody. And as long as he fit within the world,
apply to those consistency rules, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is kind of the same thing. It's like just because now the Joker could have halfway through the movie turned into a different person, but as long as he remained consistent to the world in which he was in, kind of like Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face, then you have this character that still makes sense, and you don't fault the underlying world because of the fact that Harvey Dent changed. The world itself stays consistent. Everything still plays by those same rules. So Harvey Dent becomes something different.
Okay, so I'm just going to try to gather what the analogy you're trying to
Sure, yeah, because I think that you misunderstood what I was saying.
I get that Kyle is saying that maybe perhaps, in my opinion, there isn't consistency, but this is something I went over with my brother-in-law a few weeks ago. He was talking with me a little more in depth, and he said, you must be in constant turmoil all the time. And he said, because it just seems like you have battling opinions like over and over and over again going on in your head. And if you hear a lack of consistency from me, that's generally the only reason that comes across.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. I might
identify with an opinion on one side, but then I might also see the argument from the other side. Like there's a lot of opinions I haven't made up my mind on. And I don't know if I think it's fair to say that I haven't been consistent in terms of
so you're misunderstanding what I was.
Okay, go ahead.
I was saying, Ryan. So I'm not saying that your opinions have to remain consistent within themselves. I'm saying with other opinions. So an example would be, I think that someone has the right to be we'll look at race realists, for example. I think that they're in general probably terrible people, but it's not necessarily because their ideology. It's the ideology I disagree with. But
realists? Is that what you're saying?
Race realists. Those are people who think that like there is a genetic reason that white people are better than black people.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Now, and again, these are not my opinions, but there are people who genuinely believe these. They have that right as long as their opinions stay consistent. So, but where you would see somebody inconsistent is they would say like, oh well, like there's science that says that white people are smarter than black people. I don't want to be around black people because they're not as smart as me. And I would say, okay, but if you were to break that down further and you were to realize, like, you know, like let's say that they're white, you would break it down past just white people and their heritage is Irish, for example, and you would say, what if like Finns thought that there was something wrong with the Irish people, and then they're like, no, it doesn't count though because it's me. They wouldn't say it like that, but if their opinion says, I believe these things except for when they apply to me, there is a logical inconsistency there. Do you understand what I mean?
Sure, but at the same time, I guess my counter here is if you're arguing that maybe because I support a lot of sciences and I support a lot of, you know, even the movement towards chiropractic and alternative medicines, isn't it hypocritical that I don't then myself experience those things? But I will also say that human beings are one of the most paradoxical people of all time, and they're allowed to be. Like that's
Sure,
part
they're
of what
allowed to.
our charm is.
I
will
It's sometimes
absolutely
frustrating though.
Oh, it's absolutely frustrating.
Of course it is. But I support people fishing and going into the ocean. That doesn't mean I want to.
No.
Right? Like that I
But
understand and
don't
support
say that.
movements, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with myself doing them.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I was starting on
Right.
one level and building towards different things where like I argue in order, if you will. So what I was getting to there, though, Ryan, was that nobody has to be perfect. And in fact, nobody will be perfect in these regards, right? I definitely have conflicting ideals. I don't know what they are, but there's certain things where I think we've had these conversations where I'll say something that's really stupid and I've just believed it for years, but I haven't gone back and re-examined that thought. And you're like, Kyle, that's not right at all. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's true because I have I just haven't thought of this thing since I was 10 or whatever, right? And that was the opinion that I formed then.
Right now, you seem like the master and me the student, but I am also tipsy. But before in the past, there have been times where I have been the master and you've been.
More often than not. In fact, I think that I had terrible inconsistency up till a couple of years ago, really. But no, it's not that about like. But it's not like it's a getcha moment where it's like,
reliance on consistency should that be a rule? Like, should it not be a rule to make sure you understand the situation?
It's not a rule. It's my philosophy. It's absolutely no. If I was in charge of the universe, yes, that's not the case.
Understand the situation to its depth. So, like, regardless of whether or not it's fitting a narrative, you're going to make sure you understand the context so that it actually does fit that narrative before you
exactly. So because when someone has someone has conflicting ideals and they're okay with that, I get frustrated because it means that you can't ever have any sort of progress with them. For example, if I was having an argument with Shane about how, like, if he said, like, I think that addictive personalities or that addiction is bad. Like that's a statement that I agree with. He's like, if you're addicted to anything, then that's a bad thing. He's like, look at all these problems you have with alcohol or with tobacco or with heroin. And I'm like, oh, but Shane, you're addicted to video games, which he may or may not actually be. But he said, no, but that's different because I like them. I have an issue with that because that means he's not applying his logic consistently. He thinks it's okay for things if he likes them, right? Which I'm not even necessarily saying that you do these. I'm saying that you turn off of these arguments before you get to those points because you're like, oh no, that's not the case. So in the scope of the current argument we're having, I'm not necessarily saying like massage is the most important thing. I use them as a vehicle to get your entire philosophy, right? Where
I think
you don't have to have the same opinion as me, but it has to be consistent within the rules.
I think I see what you're saying. You're saying now that I turn off the argument before it gets to the point where I should be defending my side of view to the extreme degree. But I'll argue that the reason I do that is because I don't see things from any extreme degree, and I think that the extreme degree on any perspective is always clearly wrong, and that's just my perspective. Is that you're always I am the ideal middle ground in any situation. If someone says rape, unless there is video evidence that says it's rape, I'm going to take the middle ground. I'm going to take the ground between both parties, even if there's extenuating circumstances on either side, because I have seen enough situations where you can manipulate evidence where it's irrelevant. So from my perspective, it's always to the point where
I'm not even sure if I necessarily agree with the statement that the extreme is always.
But it basically boils down to how I kind of go through life. A lot of people go through life and they'll see let's look at media for an example. Media that influences you. You'll see a piece of media that influences you. You'll identify with it. But you'll identify with it as a carrier of that medium. It believes something that you believe, so you share those beliefs. For me, I identify with it as a passenger. I see people who believe those beliefs, and I recognize why that's resonant with those people and resonant with culture or a part of humanity, but it doesn't resonate with me. So I understand the perspective and I move on. I am constantly the passenger to everything I understand, so that I'm never the person who's trying to push the perspective into your point of view, because what your point of view is yours, and you're always entitled to it, regardless of whether I agree with it or not.
Yes, I'm saying that extremes are always wrong. an extreme point of view.
Yes, it is.
Probably.
No, that's a good point.
And you know what? I'll accept that hypocrisy, and then my paradox go away. I don't care.
See, but
Like,
whereas you would
I just can't stand extremes. I think
extremes are often wrong.
because extremes assumes assumption, right? It automatically does. It says you start to narrative over something that isn't always true. Nothing can always be true. So the moment you develop an extreme, you're assuming something is always true based on that extreme.
Okay, so what
I just can't agree with that.
I've thought of a better way to phrase what I'm trying to get at, Ryan. So what I was trying to say before is that, and again, like I'm not even necessarily saying that I think that you always have like conflicting ideals. It's that you don't go to that point. So what we're doing here is whenever I sense something that I don't necessarily agree with, I usually take it back a step to see eventually what gets down to your core belief, right? I want to see if these things resonate with each other. So I used the massage thing, and then you were like, oh, but it's because it's like you learn a lot through these kind of discussions, right? Originally you were saying, oh, it's because people need to like man up with it. And then when we got through that discussion,
to a degree, I believe there's an element of people that do need to man up when it
comes
to
but we eventually realized that's not what you
discomforts.
Sure, but the overall statement that you made wasn't something you actually believed. It wasn't that you were being deceitful. It's that you weren't, that wasn't actually your core belief. We eventually got to the point where you realized that.
But here's where you misunderstand.
You have a problem with addictive personality.
I don't have a lot of my beliefs aren't really. And I guess this kind of is an interesting thing to note about me, aren't really always my beliefs. I'm trying to make sure that I recognize and acknowledge multiple different beliefs, because I study the beliefs, but I might not subscribe to one of them myself.
But that's what I'm doing.
And I think it's very important.
And that's all I'm doing is trying to represent that those beliefs exist and they're just as valid as other beliefs.
They are.
Well, first off, I've got two issues with that. First off, that's moral relativism, which I'll get into in a second, and why I think that's awful. And secondly, the most important part of understanding these different perspectives, from my opinion, at least from the useful perspective, is being able to synthesize your own out of it. I mean, understanding the different perspectives is fine, but it's not useful if you're never going to.
But I did synthesize my own. My own was that this isn't that massages aren't applicable to me. Just because I believe that massages aren't applicable to me doesn't mean I don't have a right to understand those people who do like them and the people who hate them. Right? I have a right just as anyone else to understand those perspectives, but it doesn't mean that it changes my perspective. My perspective could still be the same, which is that I think it's irrelevant. It's unimportant. It's an unimportant issue that is made an issue by the fact that some people really agree with it and some people really disagree with it. When from my perspective, nobody should care about it. If people do it, whatever. It's irrelevant. It's cool. Whatever.
I think the second part then is the moral relativism part, which is that every belief is equal to every other belief. And what I will say is that I think that everyone has a right to believe what they want to believe. At the same time, some beliefs are much better than others in the way that they affect either yourself or people around you. And that means that some beliefs are objectively better either for humanity or for an individual. And therefore to say that every belief
might be objectively better, but that doesn't mean that the other beliefs aren't allowed to be stated.
No. And don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying.
That's the premise of why I bring them up. Because there's a lot of times where people choose not to state a belief because it's very radical or very alternative. And I want to make sure that I state all the beliefs because I'm not prejudiced to beliefs, regardless of how ridiculous they are. Even if you believe the earth is flat, as ridiculous as I think of a human being you are, especially with all the scientific evidence that states otherwise, you're entitled to that belief. And I never want people to believe that I am not a believer, that everyone is entitled.
I don't want to hang out with those people.
Sure, but see, I don't know that. You could have already had a beer with those people and never known. That's the crazy part of the world.
I would change my opinion about that person if they were like, if once you give them.
And to me, that's another opinion about you, right? Wouldn't that then reverse that angle and go,
no,
you're gonna change your opinion about something that petty just because that person is crazy?
No, Ryan, that falls down to my core belief.
They're crazy. So what? What does it matter if they're crazy?
That falls down to my core belief.
They're mammals.
They need consistency.
You think every mammal on the earth has to be like you? Of course they don't.
Not like me at all.
There's going to be millions that aren't.
They have to be consistent with themselves. So when I say that I have a problem,
but they don't.
Ryan.
That's the thing. If they're mammals, they don't. Okay, you want to watch National Geographic for half a second? You'll see a freaking animal hump its own species and then hump another species.
That's not.
They're not consistent.
They're consistently wanting to fuck things. Yes, there is.
People out there, Kyle, let's not mince words. There are people out there, Kyle, who are fucking stupid. It's okay that they're stupid.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
They're entitled to stupid opinions.
They are.
We need to stop pretending that they're stupid and being elite over the fact that they're stupid. They're stupid. Move on.
No, Ryan. Okay, hang on. So I totally understand what you're saying. I'm not saying that I'm better than them. I'm saying I don't want to hang out with them. They probably don't want to hang out with me.
But
because
that
they think
means that you
I'm
think
too
you're better
snobby.
than them.
No,
I will
no, no,
gladly
no,
hang out with
no,
this stupid person.
Hang on. Ryan, they have just as much of a right to not want to hang out with me because they think that I'm a little bit too snobby. And that's
But why
totally their right.
divide over that? Why divide over the fact that they're stupid?
It's not about that they're stupid. It's that like they
But it is.
violate my
That's
core
what you're
beliefs. No,
clearly
no, no,
dividing
no.
this.
No. Ryan, again, this is getting back to the same thing. I like to take these things down to their base level, and you stay on that one argument for a little bit too long. It's we have to go back down to where your core belief falls in, and then it goes back up to how it affects everything else, right?
Okay. So the core belief here is that these people are stupid because
No,
they
no, no,
believe
no.
that the Earth is flat.
No, it's because the core belief is that when you show them overwhelming and irrefutable evidence, that they refuse to believe that that's not true. For example, if someone, we'll go back to the race realist thing, right? If somebody
Yeah, but that means they're stupid. That's what that means.
No, that's not.
No. Don't call names.
They don't
No.
believe irrefutable
No, Powers.
evidence.
What you're doing though is you're using a loaded word here, and this is important because when we label people things, we lose the meaning a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think Kyle's trying to say exactly
Okay,
what he
fine.
means.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm getting
Let's assume. Okay, let's go down the hardest hole you can go down, Kyle. Let's
Right.
assume that you have a person who 100% after you've shown them without irrefutable doubt from your perspective that there is
It's not about my
no
perspective.
doubt.
When you have fact that they can't dispute and they refuse to believe that, I don't
Okay,
want to hang
but
out
Kyle,
with that
what
person
if
because
that
we can have
person
no common ground.
mentally lives in another world?
Okay, well if they're crazy,
can do
then that
that.
changes everything.
Yeah,
But they could be. How do you know? If they are denying irrefutable evidence, they're probably crazy.
they could be.
So
Then
then why do you need to rub it in? They're crazy.
It's not about rubbing it in. I don't want.
Then who cares
When
that
did
you're
I
better
say-
than them? Stop
I
talking
never
about
ever
it.
said that I was
Just-
better than them. I
Then,
never.
then why can't you just have a beer with them and laugh?
I can. I just don't.
Are
want
you so intolerant? And that's the irony. Is then you're always, and then that generation's always talking about, we got to be tolerant to the Islams. You got to be tolerant. Well, then we got to be tolerant to everybody, even the fucking dumb rednecks. We got to be tolerant to everybody, including you. If that person's really dumb, stomach it. Freaking entitlement again. Oh, I want to have a legitimate conversation. Then find people to have a legitimate
I do.
conversation with.
I'm doing
And
that
that
with you
person's
right
crazy.
now.
Then just
That's
laugh
what
it
I'm
off.
doing.
Then
That's
just
what I do
laugh
with
it
you and
off.
Shane. Okay, so Ryan, I do that on a regular basis.
Okay,
Every
then
day
there's
when I
no
go into
issue.
work,
Then what's
there's no issue. It's
so
about.
then they don't have any consistency. What does it matter?
It means that I value. Like if somebody tells me something. Okay, so Ryan, let's go into an example, right? You would say that is it fair to say that we'll say just your dad, who I've never actually met, but just from how you've spoken about him, is it fair to say that he's
Shane's met
relatively stubborn? He won't change.
Relatively what? Sorry?
Stubborn,
Relatively stubborn.
set in his ways. If you,
Are you kidding me?
Probably about 80%, maybe 70.
Are you kidding
Like,
me?
I
David
don't need
Power
percentage,
is a
just yes or
stone.
no.
He is a fucking mountain. He
Yeah,
does not
Shane's
move.
sitting there speaking from old opinion. So
okay,
Maybe
well,
he's changed. but he was a
let's talk
mountain.
about
everyone's changed at the times, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. By the
No,
way,
Ryan, let me finish.
everyone's changed with the times.
Ryan,
He might not be perfect. but
Ryan, not about being perfect. Let me finish my question.
Pulling a black guy in the kitchen versus now, way
Let me-
different.
let me
We've
ask
never
you a
even come close to saying that.
Let me ask
Shane
you a
knows what
question.
I'm talking about.
Ryan,
Shane-
Ryan, let me ask you my question. Okay, so let's talk about the Dave Power that Shane was talking about. We'll pretend that we can bring this person to the present. Let's say that he and I, both present day me and this version of Dave, tell you conflicting facts. Whose opinion do you think is who are you going to listen to more likely? Or who are you more likely to listen to and take?
But what is the relevance of that
The relevance is that when I want to have an intellectual conversation, that's the person I look out for. I'm not saying that I won't. I'm not saying that I won't socialize with those other people. I'm saying that when I want to, I will take what I know about them into account when I listen to them. If that person comes up to me and says like, "Oh, the world is ending because Trudeau got elected," I'm gonna be like, probably they don't know what they're talking about. Whereas if someone like Shane was to come up to me. Shane, who I think is probably one of the most consistent people that I've met in a very short time.
I'm not denying that I would even take that approach. I'm not saying that I wouldn't take certain opinions more seriously than other things.
Okay, so
I'm just saying that there is a stance that's very negative towards those other people. That's like we need to disassociate with them completely.
Okay, hold on.
And treat them like subhumans. And I'm just like, that's wrong.
There's a different debate going on here. So I think that Kyle's arguing and I could be wrong. So let me know if I'm wrong. But
no, sure, of course.
It sounds like Kyle's arguing that it wouldn't be his first choice to hang out with people who suggest that the Earth is flat. Does that sum it up pretty well?
True. But keep in mind. Here's what I'm going to say. I wouldn't be my first choice either, Shane. But guess what? if 6 months down the road I get told that a person who believes the Earth is flat is so lonely they have no one to hang out with, they want to kill themselves, you're damn fucking rights. I'm hanging out with them.
I never
because
said
we
I
shouldn't
wouldn't do
leave
that.
anybody behind
Yeah, no
just because
kidding.
we're moving forward.
Sure.
And I'm
yeah.
not saying you guys stated that, but I'm just saying that that's how far this has gotten. That's
Sure.
why this is at the extreme point, is that because people are so far to the other extreme, they're like, fuck it, we're going to leave these people behind. They're going to die eventually. They're the past. And it's like, get out of here. Like, come on. These are still people. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Ryan, what I'm getting at is that I'm not saying I would like, oh, well, fuck these people. Again, I've never said that I was better than them. In fact, like you can make
but okay, so
arguments in ways
I
that
agree with you then. Then you're saying I agree with you that we would both hang out with each other before we would hang out with them.
yes, absolutely.
But
what I'm
course,
saying
we're
is,
friends. Of course, that's the
Right,
statement. We're friends
but
for a reason. We don't
we're friends-
casually hang out with old timers.
right? No. But I mean, that also affects how you get along with people. For example, Ryan,
For perspective,
here's a good example. How long have Shane and I known each other for?
like a couple years, maybe
No, like for
a
real,
year and a half.
a month, really. Like having actual conversations
no,
outside of like Ryan's a weird dude. Since
But,
Pajodcast
why do
Media
you guys always
started,
talk about? Everyone just talks about me. Fucking crazy.
because you're really
Shut
interesting.
up.
You're the
You
most
are,
interesting
it's
person that I've
true.
ever met.
Yeah, you are.
I don't want to
really
hear that.
interesting.
That makes me all nervous and anxious. Not really, actually. I'm pretty tipsy right now, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So, but what I'm getting at, Ryan, is that you would say that it's probably fair to say that Shane and I have become pretty fast friends, right?
Yeah.
Considering how long we've known each other. Yeah. That's because we agree on a lot of concepts.
I
We
know,
are.
it's easy to agree with Shane, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Because Shane's really smart. Shane's better. Shane is actually, I would say, probably better at debating than I
Shane
am.
is like my translator. If it wasn't for Shane, nobody would ever understand what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yes.
but you,
Right. So Ryan, that actually is exactly what I was trying to get at. So I feel like what you were thinking is that like when we're having this discussion, I don't want to call it a debate because it's not about having like a getcha moment. I'm not trying to beat you. I'm trying to understand
No.
your
We
point
had
of
this
view.
conversation with Kendrick on the Pajodcast one time. It's not about trying to beat people in conversations, it's about trying to enlighten ourselves and look at perspectives.
Right. But
Even drunk,
value-
I can state that, by the way. Like,
yeah,
that's,
absolutely. But like I don't necessarily if someone, for example, if I turned out to be wrong in one of my core philosophies and you caught me on it, I wouldn't be pissed about it. I wouldn't be like, oh, fucking Ryan, like poked a hole in my thought. I would re-examine it and I would look at it as a version of improvement.
Are you boiling down to like the minute of the issues between, like, we don't have actual issues, but like the issues between us right now, like in terms of me looking at it as
Yeah, I
glass
think
half
they're
empty and
fascinating.
you looking at, or sorry, me looking at it as glass half full and you looking at it as glass half empty?
Yeah, I think that those things are fascinating. I think that because that's the thing. I learn a lot from you because you have had such a very different upbringing from me in almost every possible way. So when I learn your opinions, I want to know why you think these things because then they can inform my opinions. I was raised by like through my childhood, my parents got along pretty well. Obviously, they later got divorced, but like they loved both me and my sister.
Preach.
They
Divorced. My parents never got divorced. They should have. They should still be divorced.
Mine did, like should have earlier, but I was raised in a very like liberal part of the country where everybody had those things. I was raised to believe in authority. You were raised
right wing upbringing.
Exactly.
To be fair, my mom wasn't right wing, but my mom wasn't really around when I was a kid.
No, but that's my point though. You have such a different worldview and like set of experiences that when you have an opinion, I want to know where your opinion comes from because then it can better inform my opinion, right, Ryan?
But I'd say Shane also has that dynamic of an opinion. He kind of reserves it a little. He kind of likes to implement it only when it's needed. Like Shane has that I'm going to be a right wing Albertan just at the right moment type of person, where he surrounds it with good liberal ideas and then throws in the practical, and that's exactly what you should be doing. That's exactly why Shane should be the next Prime Minister of Canada.
holy fuck.
Dude, this isn't the first time we've ever said this.
Shane. But no,
Dude,
Shane also grew up
red.
in such a right-wing area. I remember Shane's parents when I was a kid showing me a video of Shane singing "Get a Haircut and Get a Real Job" when he was a kid.
Yeah, that was
It was a great time.
Right. But Shane has gone out and explored the world beyond that, and he's seen where other points of view come, and then he's changed his opinion about things, which is something I've also started doing more recently.
True.
Now, the reason that I think Shane's probably a lot better at explaining it and why you will have less arguments with him than you will with me, even though we're basically saying the same things, is because he'll have a lot more time.
Years to know what I'm saying.
Right.
Shane
and
will understand what I'm actually saying.
he's better at
behind
saying
I'm
what he's
I'm crazy.
Right. He's also better at saying what he's actually saying than I am. And he's also thought through these opinions for a lot longer than I have, because this has been a couple years where I've been kind of a little bit more
He's the translator.
Yeah.
He's the translator.
Yeah, because I think that this discussion would have been like a 10-minute thing if it was just you and Shane. Maybe a little bit longer because
No,
you go off on tangents
okay,
sometimes.
The Burnt Lake trips.
Yeah.
When Shane and I first met each other, we would walk to Burnt Lake store for like the walk was like an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. And
I'm gonna because we have technology now, I'm gonna actually Google how far that was.
So we walked from his address as kids to the Burnt Lake store to get snacks and came back. That was when so for those who don't know, I met Shane when I was 14. I moved from Black Falls. I live in Red Deer now, but I think
everybody knows because you said that earlier on this cast.
Yes, but
so unless they came in halfway through.
Sorry, Kyle interrupted me, and my train of thought got interrupted.
Sorry, you and Shane met.
What you think of Black Falls? When we were in Camille in Red Deer, Camille High, junior high.
Camille Deluge.
And we did like our first like hangout sleepover when we were younger, and yeah, I was like 14, he was 13. I was a year older because I stayed back a grade from Black Falls, not due to educational purposes, due to me not committing to school because I didn't care.
You know, I've heard this story.
Yeah, I'm a horrible person.
It's a 6
kilometer. I've got my high school now, for those who don't know, but I didn't at the time because
it's a 6 kilometer walk each way. And we would walk in the middle of winter, and it's an hour. According to Google, it's about an hour.
So in the middle of winter, for those who aren't in Canada, means between the months of October and May. So basically the whole year.
June through
September don't actually exist. We quadded. We did use the quad once.
We did do that.
But yeah, we would talk philosophy and life, and I learned a lot about myself and discovering things and stuff like that.
Right. And would you say that?
So our conversations were short, though, is the point I was getting at. Like,
no.
I mean that it'd be like 3 a.m. and Shane's parents would be like, "We can still hear you guys downstairs."
Yeah.
I don't think
we'd come up and go to dinner, and Shane's parents or breakfast or whatever. Shane's parents would be like, "Man, you guys are loud." And they would mostly just be talking about me. I have a loud voice. I can't help it.
Oh no, that's definitely true. I don't think that they.
I've been too quiet. So.
Yeah, no. I don't think that the entire conversation would be quiet, would be loud, or would be short. I think that the portion that we took an hour to say would have been, you guys would have moved past that part in the 15 minutes.
You don't understand how or why I'm so loud until you meet my parents. Anyone who's met my parents and been in a setting with them recognizes what's the reason.
It's genetic.
Yep, Andrew, you should have seen my roommate Andrew. He went to it once. He's like, "Holy shit! It's like a freaking debate. There's like everyone's yelling." And I'm like, "That's the garage hangout where everyone yells. Our neighbors probably hate it. They don't even want to live near you."
Yeah,
they can't help it.
No. But you do understand.
Even our neighbor when we lived in the trailer park days, Shane Misty, who's my hairdresser now, she even says, "I remember being able to hear every word Dave said." I'm like, "Yep, that's how it works at the power household."
But you do understand that I wasn't saying like, oh, people who are different or are less consistent are like worse people. No, I didn't say lesser. I said less consistent are below me.
But do you need to rub it in? Is my issue.
How am I rubbing it in? In what way was I rubbing it in?
You aren't. But I'm just saying, do you need to ? And that's what happens a lot of the time.
Sure, that is what happens a lot of the time.
And you know, there's a term the kids like to use nowadays on the internet called woke. I'm sure you guys have heard of it.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah.
I'm woke to the world. I'm woke. Life hack, bro. 420.
Hang on, you just like the cat's fiddling with a piece of plastic.
It's such a weird term that I'm just like, what does it even mean? Like the people who try to say it for the not the anti-Trump, but the anti-Trump anti. You know what I mean? The anti-liberal cuck and Pepe trolling. They say woke as if it means like you understand that there's trolls out there. It's like, okay, well, what happens if I understand all this shit and I think it's all garbage? Like it is. It's legitimately all garbage. It doesn't matter which side you're actually leading. It's all just propaganda and bullshit and entitlement and people saying that there's fascism or the other side, which is like communism. It's like, did you guys ever actually research or go to history class? None of what's happening is even close to either of those things. And it's just, and they're like, but we're woke. We're woke, son.
Yeah, but they're
not woke for nothing.
No, they think that they are.
The fact that you were asleep and now that you're in politics for the first time, you're like, shit, I've finally understood liberal and or right-wing politics for the first time. Ooh.
No. I think that there's definitely a point where you.
I guess I'll just say it's complicated. It's always.
No, it absolutely is. I would say like what they are trying to say is something that definitely applies. Like I think that, and I would never use the word because I think it's dumb, and I know the connotations go with it. I got woke about 2 years ago, where I was like, "Oh my." Well, think about but look into it, Ryan. Remember the person that I was when you first met me, and compare him to the person I am now.
I'll admit it here on the internet. Kyle got woke.
Right, we're memeing, but
woke, son.
Woo! No, but Ryan, really think about the dumb, like my dumb opinions and the dumb way that I used to do things, as compared to how I've become over the last couple of years, right?
For those who don't know, on the VHL, which is the Victory Hockey League, which is a site where I met Kyle and Chris, not Shane. I've known, obviously, as we said, Shane for too many real life years. But Kyle used to be one of the biggest trolls on the VHL. That's how I originally met him.
I'm still a pretty big troll, but I was a lot more.
Yeah, but you're a better troll now. You've adapted the devised troll version where you and I just GIF it away.
Right,
the GIF captains of the GIF century.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with like shit posting either, because I get enjoyment out of it and it doesn't hurt other people.
This isn't a game cast, by the way. This is not.
No, we've
decided. Call this birthday special or something.
Yeah, we'll come up with some sort of a title for it. I'll think of.
Did you guys start with games?
No, like for 5 minutes.
What did you talk?
We're talking about. Well, actually, it was basically when you came in that we quickly mentioned the hostess simulator. I just want to show you guys something. There's 2 things I want to show you. The one I'll show you right now, and the second one I'll show you when we're about to go. There is a hostess simulator. It's called Dream Club. It's for Xbox 360.
Oh, you were joking about Yakuza being a hostess simulator?
Yeah, because there's a mini game where you do it. I wasn't actually playing an actual.
You get that gold grandma, right?
Yep, you do, and she's very useful.
What's her name? She has a name.
She's an Obitarian, but her real name I can't remember what it is.
Obitarian, there you go, yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys. I just have to read
it. Go for it.
Beautiful, beautiful description of this.
Play Asia.
Yeah. Do you have a pure heart? Welcome in. Beautiful women are bowing at you as you sweep across the luxurious lounge. Pick your favorite hostess and drink with them to get to know them more. You have an annual ticket to the Dream Club. In this 365 days, enjoy the company of these ladies fully.
Ooh, that's sexual. What's this game?
They're not just companions, Shane.
Earn money, plan your schedule, and improve your alcohol capacity. Chat with the ladies to persuade them to drink with you. They may divulge secrets about themselves if you prove to be a good conversationalist and drinker. The ladies
this is conservationist.
We're going clubbing this weekend, Kyle.
It does actually say conservationist.
Speaking of the club.
Oh, I know.
The kid's all about you find me in the club with my Mr. But no, 50 Cent was when I was a kid.
They're performers as well. Watch them sing and dance. The better you know them, the more songs.
When did In the Club by 50 Cent come out? Do you think 2001? Is that what it is?
2001, 2003.
The club during special event nights.
Got a guess?
Special event nights instead of the usual
names. Ladies
welcome you and get up such as yukatas and bikinis. Have a lovely clubbing experience. Get your VIP card.
Speaking of clubbing, Shane, Kyle and I were just guessing when Into Club by 50 Cent came out. Because I was like, isn't that what the kids are all talking about? But it's obviously not. But when did that come out? Don't Google it. I know it. I just Googled it, but what do you guess? Kyle guessed what?
2002.
Yeah, I think it's probably 2004.
All right, the real answer is 2003. You guys are both close.
Yeah.
So the Get Rich or Die Trying album.
I'm gonna really quickly make sure that people.
I don't think that'll play. Actually, you know what? That might play with a Justin Bieber remix when we go to the club for my birthday.
I need to. I didn't realize what I had said earlier. I need to make sure that's not what I was playing. I was playing Yakuza, which has a mini game where you run a hostess club. So you're not trying to chat up ladies. You are assigning the ladies to the right people, and then you also have to resolve issues if they come up with people, or you have to make sure you refill their ice.
Kyle wasn't playing
assign the ladies to the people. What are the ladies doing with the people?
A violent pseudo wrestling beat 'em up that also has a awesome Japanese city where you can engage in many side missions.
Hang on.
And one of the characters runs a cabaret, so you happen to have to run.
That's how you make your money. Yeah. Cabaret. Hang on, we should be clear because I did mention this in the cast, but holy fuck, this cat's going nuts. Do you know what a hostess club in Japan is? Shane?
Isn't it just where women dress up and they
you just hang out with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. But when I say you assign them, it's just okay, this guy's looking for a girl who's like this and talks about these things and looks like this. So I'll pick the right one out of my host of rosters. There's nothing illegal going on there. Actually, just hanging out.
I was actually, I anticipated that illegal things were going on. So okay, all right.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Oh fuck. This is probably one of my favorite conversations ever with Ryan because this is one of the very few times where I felt like I'm a little bit more equipped, just because I've thought these things through. And it's not like I'm trying to catch him out either. Like I was being genuine. I was saying oh, it's not about getting a get you moment with Ryan. It's about yeah, you said it better than I did. It's about trying to understand where his point of view comes, so to see how it affects mine. Because I think that's fair to say. Like, yeah, like every time he's mentioned something, it's usually preconceived notions based off of other people who have shitty opinions, which isn't wrong. It's just like a lot of people do those kind of things, right? I ran into these issues with my girlfriend a lot whenever I would have opinions that differed from hers, where she would assume that she knew where I was going with that argument because that's how 99 people have done it before, and they just have like shitty opinions because they're like, well, I don't like this because it hurts other people's, like, because I don't like it. Like, for example, when it comes to like, is something okay or not, my basic core philosophy on that is, as long as you enjoy it and it doesn't hurt other people, I'm fine with it, right? So I don't understand furries, but they don't really hurt other people. I don't understand people with foot fetishes, but they don't really hurt other people. I have a problem with pedophiles because they're fucking kids, and kids don't have agency to decide whether they're okay with it or not.
I think that's fair. Yep.
Yeah, but like, if somebody's with their girlfriend who's of age and they're like, can you just pretend that you're 12 and she's okay with it and he's okay with it? No problem. I mean, I don't want to be around it because that weirds me out on a personal level, but like, hey, if you're both going to talk like that, that's fine. And in fact, that's probably a healthy way to handle those feelings rather than just letting them build up and actually going and fucking a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and that I think is actually going to be the title of this cast.
Oh god,
avoiding.
I don't want to actually fuck a 12-year-old. Please don't call it that. That's clickbaity as fuck, and we're gonna have some problems.
We were just talking with 50, so
yeah, no, for sure.
50. I don't actually like 50 Cent, so
no.
And just so you guys know, that game was rated C, and C in Japan means that it's assessed to be suitable for gamers ages 15 and up.
Ooh, 15. So they're probably showing some boob there.
Almost
okay.
certainly.
Well, this hasn't been controllers and keyboards. This has been whatever we're calling it.
I do want to show you guys something before we go.
Let's cover some shit here. Let's cover
some
shit.
We're off of games at this point, right? We're going to do actual controllers and keyboards at some point.
Let's cover some other shit. Let's cover it.
Okay, then here, perfect. I've got something for you. I sent you guys a link, and I want you guys to all start at number 1. I want to explain what this is. And what this is...
Slack on Google Hangouts?
On Google Hangouts.
South Korean TV stations
Time.com
into a Game of Thrones character?
Yeah, so I just full screen that if I were you. So basically what's going on in South Korea right now is they had a president, and she was corrupt as balls and was basically being controlled by her friend who was part of a cult. It's actually the daughter of a leader of a cult.
Video?
Yeah, we're gonna watch it. I'll tell you when. And basically, the election. So she got kicked out. She actually got forcibly removed from the office. She got impeached, which never really happens in developed countries. But this happened here because she was just
could happen in the United States.
And she was crazy. Maybe we'll see what happens. But she was actually nuts though. Donald Trump is Donald Trump, but she's actually nuts.
Okay.
But in any case, so an election was held recently, and we know the results of it now. But this is how they advertised to get people interested in the election. So whenever you guys are ready, I'm going to say I'm going to count down.
1 second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a 0 for me. It's the same thing. 3, 2, 1, go.
1, 2.
We're good.
That was a dragon. Is that the approval rate? Or sorry, that's the voting pulse, is it?
Right.
41, 23, 21.
Yeah, this was when they were
on my birthday.
Yeah.
That's relevant. I don't know. Pokemon Go players. Oh yeah. Curling
athletes. Why not? South Korea's great.
Hip hop artists.
Dabbing politicians. Hillary Clinton did done so well in South Korea.
If kids all dab on Snapchat, I hear that's a thing.
Probably.
This is just how Koreans do things.
Rocky's fantastic. For those who don't know, Chris and I were going to get into that. Rocky's awesome. Watch Rocky. Hey, Mario Kart.
It's like they look like me's.
Is this a Nintendo press conference?
K-pop artists. Yeah, Ryan.
But this is so amazing.
Reform human rights lawyers.
Wait, he was elected and then removed within a day?
Oh.
How long was he president for?
He just became president.
Oh, I thought you said he got impeached.
No, the old one. She's actually in jail awaiting corruption charges.
Yeah. Wait.
This is in South Korea,
What's
Kyle.
this guy's name? Is this Moon Jae-in?
It's Park.
Okay, because he looks exactly like.
So bad,
this is Moon Jae-in. The guy that you just saw was.
We have the same clickbait. What is your guys' clickbait on the side?
Oh, I closed it already. I'm sorry.
So we got Expedia.
The app that teaches you a new language in 3
I
weeks.
got celebrity engagement
Hello,
ranks
Laser.
and the app that teaches you a new language in 3 weeks.
Hey, yeah, I've got that too from Babel. Babel.
Jesus.
Babel. That's probably what it is. Or looking for a
Frickin'
million.
internet,
Hey,
I
looking
tell
for
ya.
$1 million mansion. Find the best properties available on Mansion by Mansion
Kyle, you
Global
just
by
made me
Dow
sound
Jones.
super old in this cast, I think, too, by the way.
No,
Am I
no, I
old?
think
I'm not old.
no, you're not old, Ryan. You're just not woke like Shane and I are.
Well, are you getting offered mansions, Ryan?
Hashtag
That's
get
the
woke,
question.
son.
So I love memeing with this.
It's
No,
actually
no.
wow, that looks nice.
No, I think that the reason that you find yourself on opposing sides of discussions so often, Ryan, is that I don't necessarily know
I
what
get
Chris
so
falls
many
on.
perspectives. I understand the root of so many perspectives that it divides. That
It's also that
even
you have
though
very
will not
strong
divide,
opinions.
I am. Yeah. Chris wants to know
Yeah.
what we're doing. We're casting.
Yeah. Anyways,
Non-topic.
off topic indeed.
So,
We should call
who
this the
wonders if it's
Pajod
controls and
Cafe or
keyboards?
something.
You're welcome to join, Chris.
Yeah, I think it might be almost time for us to call this a wrap. I think we've been going for a very
Like almost
long
2
time.
hours.
Yeah.
I wasn't keeping
I
track.
don't know what it's been, but this has been the birthday Ryan cast. Okay, so we got to wrap it up though. We got to have a debate here. We got to have something.
A debate.
We need
Okay.
some strong
We-
topics.
What were we
okay?
doing? Okay. All right. What do you want to hit me up with, Ryan?
No, we
What
were
do you-
talking about me, but we need to move the topic off of the person that sits here and move it on to something larger that we can correct. Because we all know Pajodcast Media, that's what we do. We correct world problems.
What
That's
about
why
Bitcoin?
the UN is not hire us in
What's a world
America.
problem that you see, Ryan? How can we fix it?
Oh, yeah.
Hunger. Fixed it, Kyle. All right, Kyle.
Hunger?
You're the answer.
Oh, hunger. There's lots of
Yeah,
ways
you
to
got
fix
it.
hunger.
World hunger? Yeah. More food would probably be a good one.
Okay.
Just off
All
the top of
All
my
right.
right, so if we were to debate something legitimately,
Sure.
Wait, hold on. I've got this. I'm gonna come up with.
Shane. Oh, there we go. We'll
It
let
should be a
Shane do
topic that Ryan and I are
Shane's the
probably going to
master.
disagree on because otherwise it's going to be a really boring
Okay,
debate.
no. This is good. So basically, I'm actually going to top 100 debates. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys, and I want you to help me pick one out.
Okay. Real quick, though, we have to
Can
agree.
you just
Ryan,
share a bunch of answers? And
Hang on,
I'll
hang on,
just
hang
read
on.
those?
Hang on. Real quick, Ryan, we have to agree to let Shane moderate. So when he tries to cut one of us off and we're going for too long, we have to stop and let
So is
him.
this going to be like Hillary versus Trump or Harper versus Trudeau?
This is going to be.
I hope it's like none of those things because honestly, Harper and
You can
Trump,
do better.
neither of which were particularly interesting to listen to. So actually, Trump was really interesting, but not for the right reasons. All right, so
Okay. Ryan,
death
do you believe
penalty.
that?
Yeah,
death
sorry. Go
penalty?
ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
Ryan, do you believe that single-sex schools are good for education?
No,
No, neither do I.
Okay.
no. I'm of the
what-
belief that regardless of the fact that I am an asexual individual, I will gladly say that
Yeah,
on here.
it's helpful to learn.
It is helpful to learn about sex and education because the sexual body is a thing and it has emotions that are chemicals that release in the body and you
Yeah.
can react to them. Even
So
as an
I think-
asexual individual, I experience some of that. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, hey, people, you should
Okay.
probably
I'm just trying to look for
experience
one that I think that
and
Ryan has a
learn
different
about it
opinion on.
because learning is
Um,
important so that you understand yourself, your body, and how you react to things.
Ooh, the internet brings more harm than good. Do any of you believe that?
False.
No, I don't think it does.
That's
I
a
think-
nepotism point of view.
Assisted
I'm
suicide.
not saying that it doesn't bring harm, but it does.
Oh, Ryan, do you think assisted suicide should be legalized? This came up in Life is Strange recently.
I mean, if someone wants to end their life, I don't think it's a problem.
What do you
No,
think?
but do you think a doctor should have to help them? Because I think that's what that is.
I mean,
like,
if someone really confirms and they're not crazy, and you can legitimately prove that they're not crazy, which is hard nowadays with the way brains
Sure.
work. If you can do that and say they're done, they don't want this, then it's their right. I mean, those are the people that have to go on living. Like, aren't you just turning them into another suicide statistic where
Wait, what
they
is
then
your
kill
opinion, Kyle?
themselves?
so I have to ask for a clarification on something. Shane, does it mean that a doctor is forced to help them, or does it mean they have to find a doctor who will let them?
Yes, that's what that is. Basically, assisted suicide, as I understand it in this particular context, is meaning that, and because I'm the moderator, I can say this, it's that assisted suicide as a law is not legislated against, at least. So that is to say that there is a law suggesting in some capacity that someone who wants to end their life is going to is able to do so. And I mean, depending on how the provinces implement it, it could mean in some provinces that doctors are forced to if the patient wants to. Although it could also mean that just as it has to be a willing, consenting doctor. And I think that that's probably the most likely legislation.
Yeah, 'cause I would disagree with that. A doctor should have to do it because like that's
Yeah.
very different. Like
If someone, a loved one, could do it, like whatever they allocate to do it, whoever
or,
pulls
or
the
even if
plug,
you could
it
find a
will.
doctor who's willing, if it's the doctor's choice, I think that's
Yeah.
fine. If it's not the doctor's choice, I don't think that's cool because you're gonna have doctors who are,
fundamentally, you guys don't disagree on the concept of assisted suicide. Though
No,
someone no
we
longer
don't.
wants to live
Because
for whatever
if people
reason.
want to end their life, I feel like that's
this is
their
the problem.
right.
Ryan and I get along too well because we agree with most things when you get down to it. But I need to find something.
Okay, let's go with something more trivial. Banning junk food from schools. A good idea or a bad idea? Just
negative, terrible idea.
okay, but don't tell me why. Just say no. So he thinks negative. What do you think, Kyle?
I think it's negative as well.
Okay.
Sorry.
For the record, people are going to access junk foods no matter what you do.
Yeah,
it's
because they
just
did
like the war
ban
on
junk
drugs.
food in my
Don't pick a
school.
war on it. Just teach people about the benefits of healthy
Yeah,
food.
I
And trust
completely
me,
agree.
I'm an adult who has lowered his consumption of junk food.
Oh, here's going,
Even
Ryan.
though I'm drinking now, but part of the reason that the consumption of junk food has lowered is because I started to notice an actual effect on my body. You pound through a bag of chips and a chocolate bar, and you feel like shit an hour later. You pound through a salad.
We don't disagree,
you feel better.
and we need to find one that we
Right?
do disagree on. I don't disagree with any of this. Do you think that that they should ban smoking in public places?
I mean, I think there should be a delegated area for smokers.
Okay.
I don't think that we're using up enough oxygen, or like I'm not. We're not killing the atmosphere nearly as bad as they like to.
That's not what I was. That's not what I was asking.
But,
Do you think that
the point I'm getting is because we're not, you can delegate them an area where they can go outside and fucking have a cigarette. If people want to kill themselves with cancer, it's whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
we're
but it
taxing
shouldn't.
So.
But like walking down the street, you shouldn't have to deal with it. If you stay,
we might have a random guest appearance here, by the way, guys. At the end,
guest is Chris. He's a host.
He's just got to get a shirt on.
Okay, what about
and pants for all you ladies?
So I think fundamentally, Kyle, do you think that smoking should be allowed in public places?
No, I think that it should be stuck in restricted areas as well. I thought Ryan would think it was okay. That's why I picked that one.
As long as the public space is
legalized
off,
like
as long as it's an area.
Item 30. Parents should be held responsible for their school-going children's discipline problems. Yay or nay? Don't give me any more detail. Just give me a general.
I can't give you a yes or no on that. Sorry, Shane. To me, that's contextual.
It is contextual.
Let's assume elementary school, and we're gonna come up with a
specific. Still contextual.
Yeah, no, elementary school.
It's all about the situation. Period. End of story.
And a kid has beaten another kid.
Still situational. I'll look at the situation. I am not going to judge the situation until the situation comes up. And you'll have to tell me the exact specifications of that situation, because I don't want to it's not even about not being painted as some horrible person. It's not fair to the kid. It's all about if we really believe in the way we do our legal discourse, which is you're innocent until proven guilty, and we're going to look at the exact facts and try to determine what happened based on that, then that obviously has to be boiled down to the point when we're kids as well. It's even more important to teach those kids those fundamentals, that what's most important is the situation. If a kid attacks someone with no provocation, with no cause, then obviously that kid should be punished. But if the
parents be punished, that's
conflict, and it's a situational circumstance, then you're going to judge it, and you're going to actually evaluate it based on those circumstances. That's
right. But are the parents should they ever be held responsible for what their kids do?
Only if it's based on if the kid has gotten some semblance of education directly from the parents. Like if you were to, I'll use a harsh example here, but let's just assume that the parents are advocate Nazis, like they literally do the Sieg at home and everything like that. Okay, so in that situation, if the kid is caught doing the Sieg and then completely abuses a black guy with a chalk, then I'm going to totally understand that what just happened was probably influenced by the parents. But in other situations, I mean, parents should be held somewhat responsible, but I think it should be I think it should be an educational opportunity where the parents and the school get together to try to look at the best.
Right, that's what they're talking about. So we do agree.
Look at the kid going forward and just try to see how can we make this specific individual understand the problem at hand and how they can handle this problem.
Okay, so we do agree then.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys think that human cloning should be banned?
No,
I think that organs should be fine. I think a full person should not
Do
be
it.
a thing.
give me full clones. I want clones. I
You
want
want
my own
you want
clones.
clones because of Star Wars, Ryan. That's
No,
the
I
only
want
reason
clones
you
because then Ryan will get in arguments with Ryan, and then what will happen?
No, because you'll
Boom! Infinite paradox.
no, Ryan. You wouldn't get into arguments with yourself unless you until the point where you get to have different experiences. Because up until that point, when you have the same experiences, you're going to arrive at the same conclusions. Do you actually?
I mean, probably, but I mean, I just want clones because then people won't treat their life so seriously. Probably, like it's still technically your consciousness.
No, this
but
is where we're getting. This is where we're gonna. This is going to be the thing.
dude, clones
Also,
are whatever, dude. Your
Chris-
life is meaningless.
Chris
You're a
is here
mammal.
now.
Get over it.
No, we're not, this. Yeah, waiting for your response for an hour. Oh, did Ryan? Oh, fuck!
Get-
Ryan didn't actually tell Chris that we were doing
Get
that.
over it, Kyle. You're a mammal. Hashtag you're a mammal. That's the name of this
no.
cast. You're a mammal.
So
That's what it all should
I
be.
don't think that full human cloning should be a thing because then you run into the issues of.
Why?
Well, that's what I'm trying to fucking say.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
That's the whole point.
I'm
So
listening.
here's
You run
what's
into a
gonna,
lot of-
here's how we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna actually get a timer, and
Okay.
each person is gonna have 1 minute to do an opening argument, and after that we're gonna split it up into 2-minute chunks. And after your
We'll
2-minute
get Chris
chunk,
in this here too. Chris has joined us.
Hey, Chris,
and
do you have your mic yet? And your camera? There he is. Hey, Chris.
There he is.
Hey.
But we're talking about human cloning right now, Chris. For those who
I'm
don't know,
aware,
this
I've
is
been
the
listening.
Ryan drunk cast. Ryan is drunk and it's his birthday, so we've been talking about lots of hot topics, Chris.
yeah. So
I've been listening.
All right.
so
Just out of curiosity, Chris, do you think that full human cloning should be banned? We're talking about an entire person.
No,
Okay.
I
You
don't.
don't think it should be banned?
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
I don't really have
Okay,
I don't really have a reason other than I think it's awesome, but
Yeah,
Right,
here's the
I
thing,
think it's
Kyle.
awesome,
You
too.
can't clone a soul. If Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures has
Fuck
taught
is
me
a soul?
anything, it's that you can't. Did you just scratch me? No, sorry. Only Ghost Adventures elitists will know that joke. The truth, though, is that you can't actually clone a person's mind.
Hang on,
So
hang on.
those people,
Stop real
even if
quick.
they
We need to
even if they're
let Shane
you
get his
to the
time going.
T, they're not you. They're not you because you
Yeah.
think, therefore you am. So those people
Okay,
are just
alright.
a figment of your imagination.
Ryan, stop for a sec.
So here's what's gonna happen. So Chris, do you want to be a part of this? Because
Oh, absolutely. Chris is a part of this. He is the part
all right. So basically,
of
what
the
we're
human
doing
centipede.
is Ryan thinks that it's a good idea to do some debates while he's drunk. So what we're doing is we're talking about controversial issues,
my
and
birthday.
we found one that Kyle and Ryan disagree on.
Took us a while.
Took us a while, yeah.
Took a
Human
while to
cloning.
find this one, but we went through a list of 100 debate topics, and we managed to find one. And the debate topic is should full human cloning be banned? And so how I'm going to do it is I'm going to do like a standard debate to some degree. Each person's going to get 1 minute for their opening argument. I'm going to mute the mic of that person when that minute is up. I'll tell them when they've got 10 seconds left.
Wow.
After
Well,
that,
we can
then
see the
harsh.
thing. We should be able to see it on our own.
Oh yeah, you should be able to see it.
Hashtag harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Also, I think we can agree that during one person's like opening statement or closing statement, the other person can't talk at all, no matter what they say.
Yeah, they have to. You have to. Wow.
Yeah. What's he got there?
I don't know. He's got a phone.
Yeah.
I-
Anyways, I'll let you go first if you want, Ryan.
Okay, and I will actually
I'm
switch
better
the focus.
responder than I am an instigator, but okay.
Okay, so basically, Ryan, you have to in 1 minute start by explaining why you think there should not be a ban on full human cloning, and your minute starts now.
All right, so I'll just state here at the beginning. People who are against human cloning are probably against the idea that there would be duplicates of them out there. These wouldn't be duplicates. They're other individuals. The mind is the craziest thing of all. Do some studies on the mind. It can change and evolve just based on circumstance, not even based on the person. But then once you factor in personal, what you believe in and what you like, that person's not going to always believe in the same thing you believe in. And I mean, if it comes to this person has a skill set and we want to clone that skill set and that skill set is genetic and physical, then clone it. Who cares? If that person is the ideal factory worker, then let's get 100 million of those factory workers and get them out there. And sure, maybe we have a clone uprising with 100 million factory workers who are all Roy from The Office. But you know what? I'm sure that person would be great to have a beer with. So that is my minute. And I'm going to say that have a beer with Roy, the clone factory worker. And that's where I leave it.
Okay, that was your 1 minute. Interesting. Clone factory workers. There's no ethical dilemmas there, I am sure. All right. So
I need
I
to
only
minute
got a
before I
minute,
start.
people. I'm
I
sorry.
need to get the chuckles out real quick. Shane.
no worries.
That was amazing. Fucking Christ, Ryan. What the fuck?
All right. Okay, so focus on Kyle. Just let me know when you're ready to go. I'll give you a countdown.
All right. Hit me with it.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So here's the issue that we're running into, in my opinion. We have to worry about the ethical dilemma, which is something that Shane hinted at. People have a big issue with like anyone who's different than them. People look down on people for racism. People look down on people for gender. People look down on people for everything. You can't talk at all during this point, Ryan. People are going to judge clones. You're going to see a difference in quality of life. Not the least of which are running into the issue of people having like exact genetic duplicates of themselves out there. You're going to run into issues with the justice system. Was that guy the murderer? We found his DNA there. Oh, maybe it was the clone. Maybe it was one of the thousands of clones. Because at what limit do we stop them? You have to worry about the ethical dilemmas. I don't think that it's worth, like, we can't justify, like, I don't think that humanity can predict all of the issues that would come up from having clones. So I just think it's better off not to have a fully conscious human being.
All right, that was a solid minute there.
I'm gonna okay.
I had a little bit of
before we get
difficulty
to
with
Chris,
Ryan doing his fucking wine glass shenanigans.
I'll just state that Kyle, if people can't have clones, then how come someone can have 12 kids? You're okay with someone having 12 kids, but they can't have clones?
Okay,
What the
wait,
fuck are
your time
12
hasn't started yet.
kids?
Time's starting now. Your time's starting now.
Chris.
You don't mind? Oh, okay. So let's just start. It's fucking awesome, first of all. Second of all, medical breakthroughs. I mean, being able to understand cell differentiation a little bit better could lead to stuff like curing cancer. So cloning actually has medical benefits. And also, you're talking about a worse life. Well, in a lot of ways, people are discriminated against. You're able to give them a new start, essentially. Or if someone was born into a shitty situation, we all know somebody in this call who was. Or know someone, sorry, everyone in this call knows somebody who was, you can change that. And, there's various things like infertility and things like that that can be completely reversed with cloning. Done. I'm tired.
All right. So Chris is all about the medical benefits.
Sure. Can
right.
I respond to Chris's statement? Because I think
Absolutely can. You got 2 minutes.
I didn't have anything to respond to Ryan about. Let's be honest. Okay.
Here you go. Go ahead.
So, Chris, I don't necessarily disagree with anything you were saying there in principle. I think that you can get those same medical benefits with doing partial cloning. I was on board with cloning organs. That's a way better way to handle, like, oh, I'm having heart problems and I can't find a donor. Clone the heart. We're talking about fully functional human beings. Even cloning an entire body that was an empty vessel, I would be okay with. But we're talking about a person who has to have a life, because at that point, they're sentient and they have the same rights as other people. But you run into a lot of issues that I don't think that humanity is ready to deal with. You can't just say, like, oh, well, we could just, like, if you have a fully functional person and you, like, want to take a heart out of the clone and put it into the original, how is that, like, is that really fair to the clone at that point? I don't think that those are things that humanity is ready to deal with. And I think that we're going to run into a lot of societal issues. Yeah, you'd run into, like, quality of life issues with them being bullied or whatever, but you're also going to run into issues with them having, like, who has the right to that heart. This actually, I think that there was a movie about this called The Island that starred Ewan McGregor, one of Ryan's favorite actors, where they in that movie they had it so that you had to, like, the only way you could make the clones function, and like, people were basically paying money to have full clones made of themselves so that if they had any issues with one of their organs, that they could take it out of this clone. And they had to make them conscious people because the technology in the movie said so at that point. I don't remember the exact reasoning. And that was their thing. They lived in a fictional society that was supposed to be post-apocalyptic, and the only way that they were ever able to get out was through, like, a lottery, which the lottery was actually just predetermined based on who needed a body part, and they killed the clone and took it from them. And that was a big ethical dilemma. It was like, well, yeah, but isn't that really Ewan McGregor's 2's heart, not Ewan McGregor 1? That was another great example, Ryan, of Ewan McGregor on screen together. That was fantastic. So you should check that out if you haven't.
All in your time's pretty much up here.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah. Go ahead. I pretty much covered it.
All I was gonna say is, and I can keep this real quick. Let's talk about somebody who's a burn victim, or somebody who needs a liver, or something like that. These people are gonna favor cloning because they already probably feel like they're discriminated against, that they're judged, and a cloning not necessarily. You're not necessarily going to know that that person's cloned. So I don't really know if the quality of life's really going to suffer that much, especially when you're improving the quality of life per se by having somebody cloned who has suffered previously.
Do you have more, Chris, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I was keeping it short.
Yeah, no, for sure. So to get into your burn victim example, does the clone not have the right to those body parts? Because we're talking about a full person. So I think that you could solve these same issues with doing partial cloning, right? If you have a burned arm, you just clone the arm and stick the new arm on them. There's no consciousness to it.
Are we not giving these people the choice, though?
Which people? The original people?
Well, I'm assuming we're cloning based on people deciding they want to be cloned, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so at the end of the day, why they're still getting to choose, though?
They're going to choose, but the clone doesn't get to choose.
So you're saying the clone would be the one that feels
the lower quality of life. Yes. I'm talking about the clone. The clone is a separate person. Let's say I'm in a car accident and I need a new heart. If there's a clone of me walking around, and I'm like, I want that heart. Why do I have more of a right to that heart than he does? I don't. That's the problem. If you're just a clone specifically my heart and stick it in me, there's no problem there because you're not killing someone.
I can't hold my neck.
We're talking about full human cloning, having them integrated into society. That's the only thing that we're talking about. That's the only thing I have a problem with. Everything else I'm totally on board with.
Let's look at twins for a minute. Twins have very good relationships, generally very special relationships.
Absolutely.
Look, in a lot of ways, this could be looked at almost like a twin, technically.
Sure. But it depends how many. There's 100 million twins. What if there's 100 million Kyles? Fuck, I tell you right now, there's 100 million Kyles.
I'm
throw me overboard, bud.
Order. All right, Ryan's muted. Okay, go ahead.
I think, Chris, you were going.
Yeah. You're talking about
what's that?
Motherfuckers muted me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to go too much more into it, but I think I think there's too many benefits not to consider it. And yes, maybe you could go
just the medical benefits.
Maybe
what if
hold
there
on.
was that many people out there, Kyle? What if there were that? Okay, let you talk.
He would be the worst lot. He'd be the
20. I've been letting people talk for 20 fucking minutes. I even went off camera.
It was like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 3 minutes.
Yeah. So what my opinion is, Chris,
I got your opinion.
Use any of those benefits with doing partial cloning as full human cloning.
Maybe, but I also feel like you have still more to gain by doing more. Like, I mean, really, yes, in specifically the one I brought up, yes, but there's still a lot of more benefits that you could use through it, not just organs. There's cosmetic. Well, there's a lot of different things that could actually. I know there's rumors too, and granted, this is still organ. But there's been a lot of talk, the theories that cloning actually could help cure heart attacks, things like that as well.
Right, but you just clone the heart and stick it in the new person. I don't.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna say, Kyle, how much emphasis do you put on human life being like from like a soul perspective? Like this is yours, your body.
I don't think the soul's a real thing.
Okay, so then if there was 100 million versions of people who look exactly like you, how do you feel from that perspective? The same?
What do you mean?
100 million versions of you out there on the world. Every Swiss LA is equipped with a Kyle Snow.
I mean, if I don't have an issue with it. It's personal choice at that point, right? If I don't want clones,
but no, not personal choice. You were cloned. 100 billion Kyle Snows are around the world. You go to a freaking Swiss LA, you get served by you, and he's just doing you. How do you react from an introspective? How do you react? Not from a practical perspective. Is there any like part of you that goes, "This is me"? Or do you not look at it as you? Because if you don't look at it as you, then what's the issue? It's not you.
It's not me, but it's still a person.
So what? It's just a person. It's just like you.
Right, but
Kyle, there's going to be people born. As Shane said earlier, statistics. 4 people are fucking born every fucking second. There are people always born, man.
Right, but
what does it matter if they look like you or not?
It's not. That's not what it's about. Then we run into ethical dilemma, Ryan. That's what that was my entire
ethical dilemma of what? Too many people and an ethical dilemma that already exists.
Did you have headphones on this entire time?
Yes, I did. I had headphones on the whole time. So we're talking about them being, but I don't understand why the people look like you suddenly makes it an issue.
Okay, guys. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break.
It doesn't matter who they look like.
we're going to take a break at this for just 2 seconds here. So basically, I'm changing up the format a little bit just because we're getting to the point where our statements aren't super long. So we're doing it in 2-minute blocks now, and you guys have 2-minute blocks to debate these things.
Okay.
So I think that what I've been hearing mostly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, because I want to make sure I understand.
Absolutely.
Your perspective is that if you have a clone and it is a complete human replica of you, or vice versa, you're a complete human replica of somebody else.
Mhm.
If one of you, probably the person who originally said yes to the cloning, if you decide that you need a part, or if medically speaking you need a part, you have to then go to that clone and take that part out of him.
It's not that you have to. I think that that's an issue where I don't think that society
Okay.
is ready to handle that
Right,
issue.
and that's what I'm saying.
You're saying there's like there's an entitlement?
There's the ethical dilemma there. Sorry, Ryan, I muted you. I have to finish my thought here. You're saying that that's the ethical dilemma, is that who gets to say that this fully functioning human being doesn't...
I think Ryan just left.
I think Ryan did just leave. Wow.
I think he's pissed, but I'm kind of just interested in the clone discussion.
Yeah, well, I mean, it turns out that I think I agree with you in principle anyway, so I don't know if it'll be a very interesting discussion, but...
No, hang on, he's mad. You're still sharing screens. I don't think we should let people see the Slack.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. No. So that was one example I gave out of that. Like, you run into the ethical dilemma of like, who has the entitlement to the different body parts? How do you handle those situations? Is it a person? No, Ryan. Is it a real person? How are they going to, like, what kind of quality of life are they going to have? Like, in society, because people are going to look differently on clones or whatever.
Okay.
So I don't think that humanity is ready for that, and I don't think that there's enough benefits of full human cloning rather than just doing organs or just doing. And again, I even said that you could do an entirely functional body that just doesn't have consciousness to it, right?
Yeah, and
I think that those things are right. So my opinion was just that, I don't want to have walking around clones that have sentience.
Sentience. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. 100%. So for those people who are watching us right now, we are working through some technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties is the way. Is the way. Yeah. So yeah, but I think you basically have, just restate what you think my opinion is real quick so that I can make sure that we're on the same page, because we've obviously been a little bit distracted with multitasking here.
Yeah.
That's what the blender's opinion. Yeah, it's okay.
Like, I get your perspective. I don't even necessarily disagree with it. I still lean the other direction, is I guess how I would put it. Like, I see both sides, and I'm not necessarily impartial, but at the same time, I also feel like I lean to one side a little more than the other, and just for devil's advocating reasons.
Right. So my only question there is, Chris, which part of my statement, the benefits of having the conscious mind inside of the clone, outweigh the ethical dilemmas that you run into? Which part of that statement do you disagree with? Or in what way, I should say, because obviously
I don't feel that the quality of life really would suffer that much.
Okay. So you don't think that the point I was making about having
I agree
racism
with
against
your point.
clones and ownership over body parts, right? Or is the clone a fully functional human being in terms of societally?
Yeah.
You don't think that would affect the quality of life in the way that I was saying, or is that an unfair statement?
I mean, it might affect for some people, but I think the general population it wouldn't affect.
How much, Kyle, would the clone then just be like? There's another clone, so that let's assume there's 1 million clones of you, right? If you're trying to say that, okay, well, they're going to each have to be their own individual person, how is that any different from if 1 million people were created? How is that not just the same thing?
Well, if there's that many clones, I'd probably...
Are you trying to say that they would be like people would discriminate against them because there's their clones. But even if that happened, that would only be a period. Eventually people would learn to it. I mean, if history has shown us anything, people would learn to get over that and adapt to it, right? And eventually they would just become a million other people working from society that just happen to look like you.
Yeah, sure. And at that point, I think that it would be fine. But I don't think that we're
But
societally
that's
evolved
always
enough to
going to
be
be the
there.
point, right? As people get made,
No,
as humans get made, that'll always be the point. They'll always be the byproduct of any biases that happen to exist and anything. And I mean, if the cloning technology exists and they make a million clones of Cal Snow, let's just say an example, then they
Mhm.
make a million clones of Cal Snow. I mean, you can't really.
well, I should be able to stop them. That's my right. But no, but Ryan, what
I
I'm
mean,
saying
I
is that I
suppose,
don't
yeah,
think that society at this point in time is ready for that. And I think it's
I mean,
totally
yeah,
fair to say that it really
culturally,
gets to that point, Ryan.
culturally,
There was a
we're not
point,
even ready for people who have different opinions yet.
right? 50 years ago,
Barely
black
there.
people had to sit at the back of the bus and drink out of different water fountains. Women weren't allowed to vote 80 years ago. I think we're moving in a direction where maybe we could eventually open up that debate. But I'm saying at this point in time, we can't do this yet because we're going to run into way too many issues that we're not prepared for. Like, like so I like the thing is I don't see where I don't understand exactly where you guys disagree with me on these points, because and I'm not trying to say like you're wrong. I'm saying like I don't understand what part of my statements you disagree with, that 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 we're not ready for that. And like my point was that
I mean, the
that
question
you
that
could
we're not
get the
ready for it.
same
I mean, I
benefits,
guess I would argue that I don't know if we'll ever be. If
then we would
we're
never do
stating
it
that
if we're never going to be ready for it.
it's at all. We weren't ready for the Industrial Revolution and it happened. We weren't ready for World War II and it happened. The history of humanity is that we weren't ready for shit, and they constantly cause us mass changes in everything, in our societal structure, in our political structure, and in our economic culture. That's one of the reasons why things take so long to happen, because humans don't want anything till they're ready for it, and they're never ready for it when it happens. You have to sometimes admit that you're going to go into a situation dumb, flailing, unprepared, and that's the only way you're going to learn to adapt to that situation. And I think that this is a case where
Sure,
if
but I don't think the losses are
there were
acceptable.
millions of clones out there, I mean, people would just have to deal with it. They just have to live with it. If they
Yeah, they
agreed to
would.
make those clones, like in your situation, but even if they didn't, even if clones were made illegally, like what would be the response? I mean, I don't know, right?
So
Like,
but that's an important thing to point out. What would be the response? Because you've got to ask the question. I mean, are they people? And from my perspective, they have the exact same rights as every other person.
yeah, I mean,
They
obviously
should,
they do. They
because
do.
they have. I mean, because they've got brains, they've got hearts. I mean, there's nothing indistinguishable between, like, if a clone of myself and myself existed, he would be the same person as me, right after the cloning, anyway. So
Yeah.
he is a person.
Right up until you start to have different experiences.
Yeah, until we start having different experiences. But even sorry for the noise. But basically, the premise is the same, though, that we're all human beings. So if I decide to go and ask for that clone's lung, he has the right to say no. He should have the right to say no. And so therefore,
For sure.
and so if that's the case, then the whole point of cloning people seems to be kind of moot, because you can't use them for the medical advances and the cosmetic advances and all of that you'd want to, because you need their consent just like you would anybody else. So for me,
I mean, it would depend on it would depend on the situation while they're cloning them. Like, if we were to really go deep and say the Star Wars analogy here, if they were to clone people for the purposes of finding the best warrior for an army,
and I think
I don't
that's
know if I'd be.
for the record.
I mean, as awful as that is, wouldn't that be the most effective army of all time?
Sure.
No, robots would be better. Robots that are
Why?
faster, stronger, because you can build robots to
But
be
robots
much
can't
better,
be robots are less adaptive than people.
not with AI.
A lot of
No,
times
and
they
also you could
Like,
then
you're
we're
right,
getting into the
you're right,
argument of like
to the degree that
having
the
biological
chess AI
weaknesses.
that they have that beats master chess players could outbeat any chess player, but put it in another game. A
No, but
human
that's
can
what I'm
learn
saying,
multiple
though.
things to a robot's really good at learning the best of all time to a specific degree, but a human is a lot better at learning great at multiple degrees than a robot is, because a human can learn multiple things and be way more adaptive to a situation than a robot can.
I
Like
just want to show you something.
that's
So this
part of the
is
whole allure of humans. They can think on the fly. They can see a situation for what it is.
Yeah, so basically, this is a program called DeepMind, which is, I believe, it's owned by Google now. And basically, what it is it's an AI learning platform where they put input into it and it learns how to do things. So, for example, it has created, just by listening to samples of people, like millions and millions of samples of people, it can create an extremely realistic recreation of someone's voice, like where you cannot tell that it is a robot. It is extremely good. It has composed, I believe, it's composed its own music as well, and it has done this without any programming programming telling it how to specifically do that. It's learned how to do that on its own with input. So this is where AI is going. So if you add an AI that's human level or better eventually, or even slightly less than human level, and you make it stronger, faster, and able to communicate instantly with all of its squad mates, you have made a better soldier, in my opinion. And you can't do that with biology. There's limits to it. With
but
engineering, you don't
but
really
there's a
have those limits.
situational awareness that humans will always have over robots. Yeah,
Why
well, not all.
always?
Sorry, always, but for now they have.
For now, I agree. For now, yeah. But why are we making clone armies? Why don't we just stop having giant wars that require clones? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If we
I'm
get
just
to
saying.
the
I'm just
point
saying that if
where
the
we have to
world
start
were
building
to a
people to
point
fight each other,
where we have to make a clone army, that's better than using real people. Is what I'm saying.
real people, but aren't they people though?
They are, but
Yeah.
we can worry about their rights and what they deserve after the war.
No, we can't worry about anything they have after. We have to worry about that up front. That's what I'm getting at. We haven't done that yet. That's why I'm against
fair.
it.
And I mean, like, yeah.
So I should make sure that I'm clear about
I talk
something.
a lot about Clone Wars and how they actually emphasize all of that stuff we're talking about right now in the show.
Yeah.
They do. They emphasize that they have a right to live. They have a right to exist.
Right. So what I should also caveat what I was saying, Ryan. If we were to, before doing any of the cloning, if we were to hypothetically solve all of the ethical dilemmas like in Congress ahead of time and have all of what the future clone rights would be taken care of, I would be fine with doing it. I mean, we'd still run into social stigmas, but we're not there. No, but that's not technical.
Yeah, but aren't we talking about more so the fundamentals of is a clone right or wrong? Like, let's just assume right now one clone can be made and it gets made of one of us. So we'll just say for the sake of argument, Kyle, there's a clone of you made. How do you feel? You don't have a choice over you agree or not agree. They make it. How do you feel?
Oh, at that point, I have a big issue with it because then it's my identity is taken from me.
Then it's another you. Then you're
especially
you're
if it's
worried
just one. Then I have to. Then no one's ever going to believe that it was my
go
clone.
off and take your woman from you essentially, and take your life from you without you even knowing. If he studies you long enough to know how you react and how you act, he could just become.
Well, not even that. He's going to be his most like me at the point where he's made.
But is that not you just being distrusting? How do we not know that this clone isn't always just out for the good? And
no, but this also isn't the debate I was having, Ryan. This is the. Oh, and also I know that clone would fuck with me. He would definitely try to take my life from me because
you for sure he would.
No, because he would want Alex. Because I would do this if I didn't have her, and the only reason I didn't have her wasn't because she didn't want me. It's because she was with a different me.
What if he was gay?
Then he's not a clone.
Then he's not a clone.
Sexuality.
But I don't know if that's true.
No, it is true. Okay.
I think clone is just genetics. I don't think that determines mind.
So from what we know,
mind is a fickle beast.
Your mind doesn't decide your sexuality, Ryan.
Current science suggests that.
But it does.
Current science suggests that the
anyway.
Structure of our brain, if you could replicate the exact structure of our brain, then you would be able to create an exact replica of your mind. If you replicated everything down to the levels of neurotransmitters, the way that the neurons were formed.
Which is the case we're talking about, right? Is that not what we were debating?
Which is exactly what we're talking about. When we talk about cloning a human, I'm talking when we talk about cloning a conscious human, I can't imagine how you would clone it to not be a replica of someone who currently exists, unless they're like just taking a piece of brain tissue and then building an entire human out of it. Even then, though, they're going to have sentience eventually, and they're not going to. They at that point they wouldn't have the same experiences as you because they only have a part of your brain structure, but they would still end up being a living, breathing human being. And I think personally, ethically, you have to give them all of the rights that you have.
It's the issue is less for me more than will they be given all the rights. Obviously, they need to be given all the rights. It's how much like Kyle is that person going to be in that situation?
That's not the part I'm concerned about, Ryan. That's okay. So again, like we have to structure these arguments around what I take issue with it, right? Because I disagree with it, I lead where this debate goes, which is not like I'm not trying to be like snarky with it, but it's you guys are on board with this thing. So you have to like you guys have to convince me that my problem with it is non-existent, right? So we're having a totally different discussion at that point if we're talking about how much it's like me. At that point, it's personal choice, and it doesn't matter what, like, if I don't want to be cloned, I don't get cloned, and if someone else wants to get cloned, they do get cloned. But the discussion we're having is whether or not they should be able to do it, and the issue I take with it is the ethical dilemma of I don't think that we're, obviously they have to have the same human rights to me. I think that, but would I be able to convince?
I guess for me, Kyle,
would you think
from
that
perspective, I lean that even though the ethical dilemma might be that we're not ready for it, humanity wasn't ready for a lot of things. That's
sure, but if we could have prevented them, should we?
And while you might be able to state, oh well, we weren't ready for that, and that's done impact. We're where we are. because of that. Very much of a big part of humanity is defined by mistakes as well as
But we have the opportunity
the
to
good
prevent
decisions.
this one.
And I think if something like this were to happen, I think it would be silly not to explore it. Sure, we deal with the consequences of exploring it, and some of those will be negative, but those will be
Okay, so I'm gonna
to me,
I'm
no,
gonna frame this in
doesn't
a
matter how carefully you plan something, you're always going to have consequences and mistakes. So why not just execute it now, go through those consequences and mistakes, and discover what a world where that looks good works. So you know, you're right. Cloning would not be like a thing where you go, oh, you know, 600 years, or sorry, not 600, but down the road, quickly, you're going to start to experience, as you guys discussed, these people are humans, these people have rights, these people have beliefs. But at a certain point, from my perspective, it's an inevitability that we're going to have to deal with that anyway.
Okay,
So
so
the
I'm
quicker
gonna
we do it, and I don't care how sloppy it is, the better we do it, the
I know
better
you
we
don't
get
believe
there.
that because we've had this same discussion about other things. Chris, I know that you want to talk, but I really quickly want to just frame this in a case that Ryan is familiar with because he's had differing, like the exact same opinion on me about different topics frequently. We'll take this into the Victory Hockey League really quickly. We've talked about how long we would have to institute removing the minor league, right, and integrating into the top one. This is the exact same thing. What you're arguing for is do it now because we're going to have to do it eventually. Fuck it, we'll do it halfway through the season, and if issues come up,
I'm not saying do it halfway through the season. I never said that.
No, but that's what you're saying with the cloning. You're saying
Yes.
like do this as soon as we're ready, and then we'll face the consequences. I'm saying wait until we're ready, and then we implement it carefully. We've thought through all of the
massive difference between a hockey online league and real life, though.
in scope, but not in principle.
But kind of is because name one thing.
And real life cloning. Come on, like the scale of those decisions is huge.
I didn't. I said,
like we might make more liberal decisions more so with that than we would with cloning.
Exactly.
Or
so why are you making the
other
more
way? Because at the end of the day, the league can survive, whereas the way I look at it is like, look at the technology, Kyle. The way technology has been implemented has not been clean at all. It's been horrible. It's been quick. It's been fast. It's been uneducative. It's been unintuitive. It's been people behind in generations. There's people who were born younger than you, not even, that are still feeling out of date, like they don't understand what's going on. That's crazy. It's crazy because they haven't really tried to implement it in an effective way like you're talking about at all. Yet, despite that, all this progress. Because
we've overcome
it's the mentality
just
of either catch up or you get left behind. And I feel like this is the type of tech and the type of thing we're debating that has to state that's what this is.
Yeah.
If this is going to succeed, then it doesn't matter that we do it carefully. What matters is that we do it and that we make this an important part of humanity.
I'm just going to make sure that because Chris missed this really important part at the very beginning of what where my core philosophy falls down to is logical consistency within your own ideas. So for me, like that, this is a great example of where Ryan's having a logical inconsistency that I don't necessarily understand, right? We can totally agree that the scope is different, but that the same basic philosophy of rush job, get the thing out there as soon as we can get it out there, and we'll deal with the consequences as we come is the exact same thing, right? We can agree on that statement, Chris? Do you think that's true?
No, I don't.
Sure.
No, you don't agree.
Okay. So I'll agree with you there, Kyle, that we do have that same statement, but I will say that why does that, just because I believe in that philosophy for one thing, why does that have to be applied to everything I believe in?
Well, I said that that was the whole point of my core philosophy.
That's exactly where you lose me.
I know.
I'm going to change my debates based on the actual topic at hand, always. What I believe is actually applicable for that topic. The reason that I believe that sustainability is a better aspect in the VHL, as you brought up the VHL, is because the VHL is struggling for life. Whereas I think that something like cloning humanity isn't really as big of a deal as it is. There's still 8 billion people on the planet. It's not like doing that is somehow going to interrupt the balance of the 8 billion people to the point that there will no longer be a majority number of humans on the planet. You can take a couple of risks. I don't believe in taking those risks with the VHL because the VHL is very fragile and it could easily just collapse.
But before you respond, Kyle, if it's okay, Chris, would you like to weigh in at all?
No, I know.
Yeah,
sorry.
I really would.
Yeah, you said that you disagreed with my earlier statement.
So, just let me get this out. So, okay, here's the thing. Technically, yes, it's the same basic concept, right? But the differences I have with it is I kind of agree with Ryan that you have to kind of take it case by case because with the VHL, you're talking about something we have precedent on. So precedent in the VHL and any other sim league where you do something where you're not prepared for, the league can die because based on the league is strictly living based on interest of people. The world is not living based on interest of people. Now, here's the other thing. Name one big thing, big time change in the world where we were actually ready for it.
None. Like, that's the thing. We're never ready. That's
There's
historically,
never
humanity is never
anyone.
ready. They
Because
don't want to
anything,
be. They hate being ready. They would
anything,
rather not be.
anything we were ready for doesn't really end up being much of a change. That's just the reality of it. People hate change in real life. People are never ready for change. You have to almost be forced to change.
Were you not ready to go to space for the first time?
No.
In a lot of people's minds, no.
Proof that we're not ready to go to space for the first time. I could easily find you Skype callers right now of people who believe that that was all filmed in Los Angeles and we never went to space. That's proof that we're not ready. If people don't believe it in universe, like there are so many people that don't believe that we've ever been to space.
Sure,
And it's
but,
crazy number. The same people who believe the world is flat. Like, those numbers are still so high that it's like, this isn't a universal. You sometimes need to be blunt with this to slap those motherfuckers in the face.
Here's the thing.
You don't need to do that with the VHL. You need to appreciate the people's opinions in the VHL from the different
Chris, I think Chris had another point here. He hasn't had as much talking time as everyone else.
No, absolutely.
It's a very quick little thing. I'm taking a conspiracy theories course this semester, right?
Yeah,
so we're dealing with theories like, oh, JFK is not actually dead. There were zombies that came out of the Cold War. Like, there's shit that people just think. And the fact of the matter is, people are idiots. At the end of the day, in our core, there are a lot of friggin' idiots in this world. Okay?
I love you guys. I love you guys because those are the same idiots that fund Marvel and Nolan and Disney and everything, right? But they're silly. They're fun. They're people.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, my point is, though, I don't think you can look at the same statement and apply it to everything. As Ryan said, I think you have to look at case by case because these decisions, these opinions, they're not just applicable in the same situation. They're not the exact same thing. Because when we look at the VHL, there's different precedent, there's different need, there's different reasons for survival. There's a completely different scope all entirely, essentially.
Right. I don't disagree with anything that you just said.
To take some of what Chris was saying, kind of just to extrapolate my own opinion. Sorry, Cal, I don't mean
to
cut you off.
Okay. It's okay.
I'm just saying that what he's really, I think, getting to the nail up here is that I feel like there's a perspective from Kyle, even when it relates to the cloning aspect, that just tries to define this narrative that isn't always defined. From our perspective, it's like, this narrative isn't actually 100% that. And yes, I get it. It's 90% that a lot of the times. But it doesn't change the fact that you still need to make that distinction. That distinction is important. That's the distinction between, as Chris said, the people who are freaking crazy and the people who aren't. Like, those distinctions need to be clearly labeled. And just saying, outright, well, cloning because it would create more people who are individuals would be problematic. Like, yeah, that's accurate, but does that mean it would be good or bad? Just because it would be problematic, there's a million things that have happened in life that have been problematic, but good or bad requires a little bit more long-term thought process. How good or bad would it be 20 years from then? Because no matter what, even when we execute it to perfection, which we know won't happen, humanity never does that. It's going to be executed not to perfection. There's going to be mistakes made. So what are those mistakes and what are the consequences of those mistakes? And are they worth taking? And I don't feel like that even has been analyzed from that side of the perspective. I feel like the perspective has been, because those mistakes are period not worth taking, we're never going to take them. And it's like, that's not, I don't feel like that's really accurate to how humans would respond to this. It would be, is it worth it? And that would be depend on the person. And, as we've clearly proven here, that changes person to person.
Sure. So I'm going to just respond to Chris's statement. So I don't necessarily disagree with what you were saying in regards to, I need you to recap your points for me because I kind of got sidetracked after Ryan's statement.
Sorry, that was my fault.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can't remember. There was a specific thing I was responding to that I can't remember. Chris, can you remind me? You said that,
the basic ones were that the VHL is not real life. And that we've never really been ready for a significant major change.
Never been ready for okay, that was the one. Okay, so
have you guys ever, just before you start, Kyle, have you guys ever seen the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still?
No, Ryan, I haven't.
There was a remake with Keanu Reeves. It talks about how humanity never changes until they're literally at the precipice.
Forced to? Yeah.
Shame remember. It's a cool, thematic perspective.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. I remember what I was going to say though. So, Chris, I don't disagree with the statement that you have to take things case by case. But what I was saying earlier, you have to have a consistent philosophy to your ideas. Mine is that I value consistency within within relativity to each other above all else. And then my core belief of if something's okay and it doesn't hurt other people, I'm on board with it. So I agree, like that. I agree that we may or may not have been ready for it. With other things, like I disagree that we weren't ready for space travel. I think we were ready before we did it. Otherwise, we would have failed.
No way.
That's a whole different debate, though. That
They're still not ready for it. If there's still people who deny that we went to space,
that I don't want to get into.
How are we?
That has nothing to do with whether we went or not. Those people can just be fucking retarded.
But that culture is what determines ready, for me to play video games. Personal opinion. Everyone determines when we're ready, not just you.
I feel like we're getting bogged down a little bit in this
autism
specifics.
Well, so autism. So basically, I kind of approach this from a different perspective in that I agree that full people shouldn't be cloned. My perspective is kind of twofold, though. The first question that I would ask is, why are we doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And
always first and foremost, yeah.
Well, and it is because it's about usefulness, utility, right? And the second question is, if we choose to do it, what are the consequences? So if we take the first question and say, why are we doing it? Okay, well, let's just take an example. You clone them for medical reasons. So you want to do brain research on a living specimen. Okay, fine. So then what do we do about that once we've created that clone successfully and it's a real life human? Whether or not he looks like me exactly or whether or not he behaves like me exactly, in my opinion, he has to be given all the rights and responsibilities he was born here, a citizen of Canada. So given that, the original idea that we had when we created the clone to do medical research, because he has the same right as me to say no, does that mean
force research on him?
Yeah, so either we're going to force research on him or we're going to respect that he's a human being and not do the research. If we decide to respect his rights, then the whole point of creating him becomes completely moot. So that's really what it is for me. If you're trying to solve a specific medical issue.
But what if he doesn't respect his rights immediately? What if he just submits? And then years later,
wait. So what if we use his newbornness against him by coercing him into?
That's what would likely happen. Right? We're trying to paint a real.
I have an issue with that.
We're trying to paint a realistic scenario. The realistic scenario is that he doesn't know what's happening, and we foist information upon him overwhelmingly, and he just agrees without knowledge. And then 6 years or 3 years down the road, this person then goes, "I want rights. I understand the world. You've let me understand internets and the world. So now I understand that I want rights." Like, I obviously agree that we should give him rights, but at the same time, should we not take advantage while he's there? History is littered with humanity taking advantage of other people. That's what we do.
So here's the thing.
Go before Hitler. How much did the Romans take advantage of other cultures? That's what we've always done, Shane. We are where we are. We're talking on the internet right now because of that type of elitism and that type of take what you will.
Do you think that we should barbarism? We don't have to do that anymore.
No, we don't.
We just don't have to.
No, you're right. We don't.
Back in the day,
but I'm just saying, if the situation were to happen, would you then suddenly say that it's wrong?
Yes.
Even though you've benefited from the gains of that same situation in the past.
What I have no control over the past, but I have some potential control over the future. And my thought is that I don't have a lot of super duper strong opinions on a lot of stuff. I'm willing to be swayed on most things, on almost everything, maybe everything. But
not
in this
human rights.
particular case, this particular human right, I do not believe that people should be forced without their consent. People who are just as sentient and maybe just as just like me, they should never ever be coerced into something that they cannot understand well enough to make an informed decision about. If
we're dealing with a hypothetical here, so let's assume the hypothetical is we brief them on what the cloning procedure is and what they were designed for, and then ask them, are they willing to submit themselves to medical treatment or whatever have you? At
that point, they have the right to say no. So it's
if they say yes, you're good.
Yes, exactly. No,
I'm no. What was the point of making them in the first place?
A year later, those people then say no. Should you then assume
they can
we need to stop it immediately?
Yes.
We need to stop. Okay. That's fine. No, that as Kyle says, that is consistent. That is definitely consistent.
We are.
No, and I'm not against. If people are against, obviously, if there are clones out there. No, there are no clones. But if there were out there saying no, don't do this, I would say no. Like, obviously, they're people. But I'm not against the idea that we could leverage cloning technology to benefit society. I'm not against it.
I'm not saying that we couldn't. I'm saying that we shouldn't.
I think there's a world where that might work.
It would totally work. I just don't think we should do it.
I think that basically, although my point is different than Kyle's, my perspective is different. I think it kind of dovetails to the same thing. Is that
I think you're doing a better job of saying what I was trying to say.
Well, I just think that as a society, and I'm not saying that we should wait
That's
to
fair.
be ready per se. That's not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that
We're
I
never going to be
personally-
ready. We all know
well,
that that's the truth. We'll never be
and-
ready for any changes.
And what I'm saying though is that I'm personally not comfortable. Like if I had control over the decision right now, whether to allow cloning or not allow cloning of a full, complete sentient human being, and I knew that there was a good chance that that cloning could be abused for whatever reason, I would say no, absolutely not. We're going to ban it until we put
Until
the
we
right
can
safeguards into place
Sure,
so
that
that we
the
can fix
safeguards
it.
are there. That's fair. That's fair.
To make because that's my biggest concern about it. Like I mean, I am
And
not
I will just say,
inherently against.
Kyle. I will just say, Kyle,
Yeah.
to the argument of humanity being ready. Now, obviously, this speaks to a personal decision that you made, but you were never really ready to propose. You just did. Like it's
I was
one of
ready.
those things. I don't know, man. Like, were you? How nervous
I
were you?
I mean, I was nervous because of
There you go. Because you weren't ready.
Think about it. I was totally
Ready? Wouldn't readiness assume confidence? Wouldn't it
I
assume
knew
you
she
know?
was going to say yes. I still knew she was going to do it, but okay,
I
Ryan,
don't know.
let me explain. Okay,
Like I
just
feel like there's always a.
let me explain
but
why
there's
I was
always,
nervous.
no matter what,
No,
no
no.
matter what, Kyle, you'll never get 100% ready for anything. It's 99.9. There's always a doubt. For
Right. So
escape.
but the thing is, I didn't say we
But
have to
that's
be
my point.
100%
Is
ready.
that
I'm saying
you shouldn't
we're-
make it about whether
no.
that doubt exists or not. It's about whether you're going to succeed or not, and that's the point I'm trying to
right,
make.
but I don't think that we would succeed. Or my definition of succeed means we don't fuck over a whole bunch of lives. So
Of course, and I
just to get
but I
into the
agree
proposal
with
thing.
that. I agree with that sentiment. I don't want to fuck
Ryan,
over a bunch of lives,
hang on,
but
hang
I'm
on.
just saying you can't
I need to
advocate
explain
to such
why
a
I was
degree
nervous.
that it
and-
needs to be 100% because it'll never will be. We're never
no,
going to be
right.
ready to do something as big as what we're talking about with the
Right.
clone.
But the
We're
statement
never-
about whether I was
There's
nervous or
your
not
point.
is
You have to
not
go.
indicative of whether I was ready. So let me explain why I was nervous. Whether or not I was ready means whether or not I knew she was going to say yes, and whether or not I wanted to actually, and whether or not I wanted to spend the rest of my
Did
life.
you
with her.
really know she was going to say yes? Did you?
Absolutely, I knew she was going to say
I
yes.
don't know.
100%.
You talked to her about it beforehand.
Yes, we had discussions
100%.
about it. Yep, 100%.
Okay, here we go.
Why I
Kyle was
nervous?
ready. Everyone knows Kyle was
Yeah,
ready.
I was ready. The reason I was nervous is because I wanted it. It was going to be something that was going to be very significant to her, and I wanted the moment to be as much like what she wanted as I could. And there
Well,
were a lot of moving
yeah.
parts in place that I couldn't control.
Listen,
I swallowed like 20.
I'm not denying that level of control can create a moment that will be remembered for the rest of life. I'll remember it for the rest of life, and you're my fucking friend. So what does that say? I remember Shane's engagement. He told me the story about it. I remember all of it. I remember Shane's wedding. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't know if you could tell Shane that he was 100% really ready for
Maybe
any
he
of those
wasn't.
moments.
I didn't say. I
That's
didn't
the
say
thing.
that Shane was ready.
I don't know if anyone will be ready for as Chris said. I don't know if people will be ready for these type of changes.
I think, but here's the
when
thing,
they
though. I'm
come.
not
And
suggesting.
the point isn't that they need to be ready. The point is more that we need to accept the fact that we're not going to be as ready as we want to be, but we need to still handle it as diligently as possible.
My thought is that
fair?
basically, yeah, I think that for me, I don't ever suspect going into any situation in my life that I am 100% prepared, because of course there's always a possibility that something completely goes different than I expect. That said, though, we can be 80% ready, even 60% would be better than where we are now. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
I'm
these
not
numbers are arbitrary, but yes,
they are arbitrary, but it's
I
basically
totally
like
identify with
we
what
just
you're saying.
I don't want to run into a situation where we literally have given zero thoughts and zero fucks about the outcome
About the future.
when
Yeah,
when it
but
includes something so important as actual living sentient beings that are at least nominally they're human. They seem
it's
to be
definitely
exactly
worth the
human.
consideration of life. You're damn right.
I think so, and just intelligent life in general. I mean, I'll think the same thing about AI when it becomes intelligent enough to recognize itself. It's just in the
that
end.
one's even harder because there's going to be tons of people who aren't going to say that they think that's a real person.
Oh, that's going to be far more difficult. But I think that in the end, it
Those
comes down
people
to
are
the same
crazy.
principle.
Those people believe the Earth's flat, and those people can have their opinion. But guess what? I'm going to show them a video where someone takes a camera on a drone out to outer space and then
Brian,
shows
do you know
them
what they
filming.
believe about that? I've actually heard some of these arguments. They think that that's all done underwater, and they can see bubbles in every video.
What are you
They can see
talking
the air
about?
levels. That's what they think. That's what the
literally civilians taking videos into space.
I know. That's what people who think the Earth is flat believe.
That's amazing. That's really amazing because actually, if you look at the SpaceX launches as well, SpaceX has like 52 cameras in all of their
They
rockets.
show their launches.
As they're
They
launching
show them
into
coming
the
out to
atmosphere.
space.
Yeah,
and
they were faked in water, guys. Come on.
Okay,
And
but how do you
can also
fake
connect
fire
live
in
stream
water?
to the people on the space station.
Yeah.
Like they're literally
they're
any
lying.
number of
They're
ways
in
to
on it,
confirm that the
obviously.
Earth isn't flat.
I know, but that's why I don't like those people, because you can't have that
But
argument.
yeah,
Do you understand where I'm
but
getting
those-
at
you can
now?
the weird fundamental, Kyle, is that I also recognize that you can have a fascinating argument with those same people about something completely entirely where they might have a crazy perspective that you never considered. That's the worst part about humanity is it doesn't matter how awful someone is or how different or how whatever, like, how crazy you might think they are. Those people will always surprise you and they'll throw out a curveball and you're like, man, the brain is crazy, isn't it? These people believe the earth is flat. And how could they also believe this? I don't see the connection, but somehow they make it work. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happens all the time. I wasn't, for example, expecting you guys to bring up the humanity's never ready arguments, which I think Chris was a little more eloquent with. But
yeah,
the
point is still the same.
Sort of true.
Humanity has never been ready for big changes.
No, but I don't think that
even
we
the
can
car,
just say,
man.
well, that's how we've always done it, so that's how we should keep doing it. I think that we should be constantly.
No. To your point, I think we need to be more prepared for the consequences after it happens. Just because we aren't ready for dealing with the exact impact of it, which is probably going to be true no matter how hard we prepare, because the idea that we predict everything that happens is probably crazy.
Yeah. But
at the same time,
this argument says that we have
at the same
technology
time,
now. Do we push that button?
Situations. Yeah, seeing 20 situations and going, well, there's 20 potential consequences here, and being prepared for all of them means that when one of those 20 happens, we're fucking prepared. And this is something I talk about all the time when people talk about, oh, well, we live in Alberta, for those who don't know, as I mentioned probably several times.
700 times.
People here constantly deny climate change, and they're not denying the fact that
they'll throw a snowball. Oh, I love that one.
They're denying the fact that how much impact humanity does to it and how much they should have to pay in taxes. That's really what it's about. Tax paying. But for me, I'm just going, so if our science can predict that the climate is going to change, which we can, and it's going to cause more tornadoes, fires, natural disasters, couldn't we be more prepared for those natural disasters? Couldn't we have a reaction team in place for when this happens? And that's my angle, is it's like, who cares whether it's taxed or not taxed or whether it's legitimate? If we know it's going to happen, potential consequences to it happening, but let's be fucking prepared. Let's get the super team out there and get ready for these disasters.
So I'm going to ask you the question ultimately again, Ryan. If we had the technology right now in your hands to say we can do full human clones, are we ready to do this? Are you saying yes or no this second?
Well, we're in 2017. Ryan's had 7 glasses of wine. Ryan would say no, because Ryan is knowing he's not in a situation or a state of mind to make a decision as serious as human cloning. So that's where I would be, but I would give it the due thought, is what I'm saying. Right, but I might say yes. I might say yes and deal with the consequences, just to say in 30 years we're going to really benefit from this. Because the argument then at that point is like, are we actually going to benefit from that quicker in 30 years, or yes or no? And if the answer is no, then maybe I accelerate things just because of doing something so controversial, which has actually happened in humanity's history, right? Like, people have done controversial things to the detriment and benefit of society in a way that's accelerated advancement, but at the same time probably hurt, culture.
So, Chris, I'll ask you the same thing.
Yeah, ask it again.
Okay, sorry. We have the technology available to do fully functioning human clones right now. No laws have been in place. No discussion has happened. Buttons in your hands. Do you do it or not?
I would say yes if I have, or if someone else is providing, a stable plan with dealing with any potential issues that could arise. Because I feel like you can't just push a button 100%. You still need to factor in everything and at least have some kind of plan around it. But yes, I mean, I would, honestly, if the plan was in there.
I don't think that we can have a stable plan with where society is at right now. I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
When I state stable, when I state
what he's saying is,
I don't
plan vetted by Chris and me that's been approved and modified by Kyle and
Sound like Rick from Rick and Morty.
By Kyle and Shane, to confirm that it doesn't have, those guys play devil's advocate, and then we execute it,
believe what we're saying.
and human cloning gets passed. Everyone's only allowed 2 clones per person, and those clones have to be treated like individuals. And everyone's allowed to have 4-way relationships.
We'll create a new tribunal.
I'm trying to make a joke here, but I'm failing at the joke is what's happening. I'm also
no, it's okay. The reason that I like to have these debates and get down to this level, Ryan, is because then we get to the point where we literally learn where other people think. When you said I'm on board with it, I thought your original thought was because you want to have Star Wars and that you hadn't thought about the ethical ramifications. It's fine, dude. You're hiccuping like a motherfucker. It's fine. It's actually hilarious. But what I was saying is I don't think that we're at a point where we can make those decisions yet. I remember earlier I did say,
no.
hang on.
We're not.
Earlier,
I would argue that we're at that point
Ryan,
when technology
finish.
determines
Please let me
we're at that
finish.
point, right?
Ryan, right, but
nobody was ready for the car, and then it just kind of happened.
Yeah, but there weren't any ethical dilemmas with the car. That was the difference, right? We're talking about the
talk to the rednecks out in the West who rode horses. No,
what was the ethical dilemma? What was the ethical dilemma?
Was that those people were riding a fucking car and they were riding a horse.
The point is there have been many ethical dilemmas, and we've still haven't been ready for them, but we have been forced to get ready for them.
Sure, but we're not forced in this case. If we're forced to do a thing, yeah, we just do the best we can.
But we would be, because at the end of the day, the government's not forced to do anything, technically, right? They could make a change. They're not forced to. We are forced to deal with that change. That's going to be there regardless. So if we're looking at it as we're just an average person, an average citizen, we are absolutely forced if that plan went in.
Right. I'm assuming that the context of this debate means that we get to make the choice here, doesn't it? Or is that not?
Sure, we can make the choice, but I'm talking when I say we are being forced into it or being able to force to deal with it, I'm talking the average person is.
Yeah, the average person would be, but I think that the context of this debate is that we get to make it. I don't think the average person is ready for it, is what I said.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm responding to that statement right there.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
he's basically responding, Kyle, saying that regardless, the average person is rarely ever ready for it anyway, even when we try to prepare them.
But I remember I did say specifically earlier that if we had all those details hammered out, that I would totally sign off on it, right? Remember, I did say that earlier on in the debate. I just don't think that we would be able to do it. And
but I think how hammered out do those details need to be?
I think to the point where we wouldn't have. I think to basic.
Are they allowed to make some mistakes? Are they allowed to then correct those mistakes later on?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, obviously, after we've signed off on it, they have to do the best they can with what they've done. But when we run into issues, so here's what I'm picturing happening, Ryan, is we start doing cloning, and then 4 years from now, Dave Power has a heart attack, and he needs a heart, and his clone has a heart, and he says, "Well, give me the fucking heart."
There ain't no newfies to spare by.
No, and then you're like, "But Dad, that's a real human being." He's like, "Fuck, that's not a real human being. That's my property."
That's my boy.
Right.
He's my boy. Get his heart out of his chest, by.
Right, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, if we haven't already had this discussion and the heart already was in place. Yeah, I'm assuming that's just what your dad would say in that specific situation. But you understand that, there's going to be a ton of people who agree with him. There's going to be a ton of people who agree with us. There's going to be no consistency. We could run into a point where even if there's a law in place and we haven't thought through the socioeconomic factors, where your dad convinces your mom to go shoot the clone in the face because, hey, if he's dead already, then I guess you can have the heart, because what doctor is going to deny you that right? I'm thinking of we're going to run into a bunch of issues like this that we haven't thought through.
But that's not new to this world.
No, it's not. But we can prevent this from happening.
Those type of issues are already happening, Kyle.
Right.
That's the thing.
If your argument
talking about the type of division that already exists, and you're saying that it's going to continue to exist even if we were to introduce something as complicated as cloning into the mix, and that's obviously the truth. But the question is the benefit really going to outweigh the negative? And
right, and I said no because
it won't.
Right, because you can get all the same benefits without making it a person. No, remember what I said, Ryan. If you can clone literally an entire body, and I'm on board with that, as long as it doesn't have a consciousness. I have no issue with that, because I think you get the same benefits out of cloning. We cloned a whole bunch of organs. Like in the case where it's like, okay, Dave has a heart attack, but hey, we just cloned his heart and we're fine now because now his heart's there was no ethical dilemma there, right? It was just a heart being taken out of vacuum and put into a body. I don't have an issue with that, and I think you get those same benefits without making it a fully functioning human being.
Fair.
Right? That was what I was saying. That's why I said I don't think that the benefits outweigh the ethical dilemma, because you can get all the same benefits without having the ethical dilemma.
I hate to pull a Shane here, but it's 12 o'clock at night.
Pull a Shane. Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock at night for Kyle and 2 o'clock at night for Chris.
Yeah, just before we go, I wanted to give Chris, did you have any final thoughts before we go, Chris? I want to give you the last word on this, if you have anything you want to say.
I'll stop hiccuping.
I think it comes down for me to doing research, researching all the benefits, weighing the benefits against the also drawbacks. Because to me, every little situation is going to have both. At the end of the day, you have to weigh both ends. I see more benefits. With that being said, I think there would need to be a lot more research before we can just press a button right now. However, that doesn't mean that given the situation, I wouldn't put that research. I wouldn't conduct that research because I do think there is potential massive benefit. With that being said, if you're asking me if I press the button right now, I'd press the button to start researching it more rather than press the button to throw it in right now. Because
for the record, I'll say research people who are interested in letting themselves be cloned. Obviously, research willing subject.
Yeah, that and like those laws have to be fashioned before we do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we all completely agree then. We would
on the front that the legal aspect should be ironed out before people just decide to throw people's duplicates of people out in the world. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
For me, it comes down to not the average person being ready, but rather the people who are putting the laws in place. They need to be ready.
Right. Yes.
Is what I would say.
All right. Well, then I think we've actually all kind of come to a point of agreement unexpectedly right at the end here. So good work, guys.
Hey, cloning, if it happens, do it legally.
Yeah. So, but Ryan, do you understand? Like, we could have had the same kind of situation come through with the opening massage debate. This is what I was trying to get to. Is this kind of moment? We took
that I disagree that massages are necessary.
No, we're
not.
Agree
that massages are useful.
No, we're not going back to it. I'm just trying to say we started with an argument where it was I say we can't do it, like we have to have a ban on it. You guys said we didn't, and then we came to a consensus because we had the debate. We went down to all those different levels. Not like fucking whatever, just tough it out. Because we went to all those levels, we got.
You are being a bitch if you want a massage. Let's be real.
We're not having this debate
unless you've had a work injury. Then I'm going to say you're being a bitch.
Preventative medicine, sure.
All right, with all of that, we're going to call this lovely and lively conversation to a close. We've been casting for like 3 hours and some.
Time controllers and keyboards. They called this the start.
This
has been the Ryan birthday special. Joining me is Chris. Mr. Chris, the Miller of movies.
Thanks for having me for
our movie. That movie guy.
An hour.
Hey, want to hype up what we're doing tomorrow, Chris? What are we doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow we are going to be watching through Doctor Strange.
Which I saw that in theaters. That's a good movie, right, boys?
It's a great movie.
I have never seen it. I want to see it. So I'm
Chris,
going to
see your best boy, Benedict Cumberbatch.
I know. We're gonna power through that movie, and I powered through another movie on my movie mill yesterday. It's also Marvel related.
Which one?
As I watched through Days of Future Past.
Nice. Can you guys make me a promise that you'll come up with as many?
Did you recently watch through Days of Future Past?
I watched it last night.
What'd you think?
I liked it a lot.
It's good. Time travel's great.
Daniel Bryan.
It was
presents another ethical dilemma.
Very good.
To align like karma.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool as shit.
Chris and Ryan, I need you guys to make me a promise right now that you will come up with as many different silly ways to say Benedict Cumberbatch's name wrong throughout Doctor Strange as you can. Okay?
I can't. I'll probably call him Doctor Strange because he does such a fucking great acting job that I forget that he's Benedict Cumbersnatch.
That's a good one right there. Okay, and then you will name the subtitle of the episode, whichever of those was the funniest.
No, I already know it's going to be named something clever because Chris is going to react to one of the crazy things that's happened. That if you've seen that movie, you're going to know what I'm talking about. AKA Chris. Sorry, Kyle and
the Inception part.
Shane, you know what I'm talking about. Not the Inception part. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm going to say it starts with an A and then the battle. A battle between things that aren't consistent. Hey, let's just say Zach Bagans makes an appearance because the ghosts are there.
All right.
With that, we're getting snowed in with Kyle Snow.
I am Groot.
And second last is Powers. The man, the mystery.
Drunk man.
We're turning the Big 2-9 tonight. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Big tuna, thank you. I dropped for a little bit and I hiccuped.
As it is. It is just past midnight here. Have a fantastic night, everybody. We will see you for the next whatever the hell this is.
Good night.
Good night.